name's Rich Hayden. I own Virtual Reality Racing Club. We're here at Goodwood Festival of Speed. I'm here with Purple Sector Performance, which is a race driver training, all levels, club championship, all the way up to Le Mans level. What we do is we help them out with race simulation and driver coaching, and we do that using our SimRace Pro simulators, which you see behind me. They're really high-level simulation, and we use virtual reality to make sure that the immersion for the driver is as best as it could be, and giving them the accuracy to be able to follow the right lines and be as accurate with their driving style as they can be. One of the things we use with that is the HTC Vive Pro headset with a real high resolution. It's fantastic for driver training. It's the only way to drive a racing simulator. The average speed improvement or time improvement for a driver, a pro driver, going from screens to VR, is minimum is 1 second a lap, and the average is anywhere between 1.5 and 2 seconds per lap.
minutes and we are away here at Snetterton. Gordon bounces there. Gordon goes into the back of Harrison, doesn't get Hislop, and he throws the car in. Harrison wins, Palmer second, Gordon third. Got a car on the grass, there's several cars off. Vicentil's getting tagged and he's out of the race, and off on the grass. Harrison takes the win. It's going to be Gordon's championship by my mathematics. A very warm welcome along to our third weekend of the official Mini Challenge eSeries with Virtual Reality Racing Club. Richard John Neal with Anthony Williams. Anthony, very good morning to you. Excited to have a Silverstone round today.
Good morning, Richard. Yes, very exciting indeed.
A lot of people ask me about whether I like this track. I absolutely love it. Some people say, oh, you know, when you're watching at the track for real, you can't see various bits. Not like Brands Hatch where we were last week. For a real-world spectator, you can see pretty much everything on the Indy circuit. And Silverstone National does give you a little bit of a problem in terms of what you can see, but there are some places where you can get some great views of a great deal of the 1.6-mile track. And, of course, you don't have to worry about that today because we're virtual. We'll give you the very best coverage as we go along throughout the day. Rich Hayden, the race director, and the team, including clerk of the course Andy Ringland, will be overseeing all of the racing. We've got Mike helping us out on the technical side as well. Here's the calendar. Week 3, as we said. So moving on, Donington, Brands, now Silverstone again next weekend. All Premier circuits for our official E-Series. There's been a little bit of free practice going on, which we'll talk about a little bit later on, and who's been doing what. But here's today's timetable. Qualifying 1 at noon. And then we go into race 1 and race 2. Race 2 reversed grid with the top 10 from positions from race 1, giving us our grid for race 2. 1:45 qualifying 2, and we do the whole thing again. Race 3 over 20 minutes, as the other races are, and then again we take the top 10 positions at the end of race 3 and reverse them to give us the grid for race 4. In between times, we'll be trying to chat to as many drivers as we can. No worries, of course, about social distancing for us. We will be able to talk to drivers on the podium. We've heard from the real world today that we're not allowed to go and film, unfortunately, at some of the racing happening in July, which is a big pity. Here's a little roundup of what happened last time. As you see, Dave Marshall was the man who set the pace in qualifying 1, wrapped it up with a win in race number 1. Josh Hislop did what he did at Donington, coming through to win the reverse grid race in race 2. Marshall again on pole in race number 2, qualifying 2, backed it up with yet another win, and race 2 going to Jack MacIntrye, picking up his first win of the campaign. The championship table looks like this. 369 points for Dave the Machine Marshall. Second position, Josh Hislop. Dave the top sim racer. Josh Hislop the top real world racer. And then Jack MacIntrye third from Tobin Lee and Josh Martin. Love the standings. Everybody gets a name check. Here they are, split into the categories. The real racers against the sim lads. Who is going to do the business today? I can tell you that in free practice this morning, that fastest was, last time I looked anyway, was Jack MacIntrye, who just got the nod over Dave Marshall. So the two sim lads, 1 and 2, Lewis Brown running third quickest from Tobin Lee, another race winner, of course, at Donington Park, another sim lad. And then Alex Toth-Jones coming good. He was 5th. Matt Richards, another sim racer, was next up. So out of the top 6 in free practice, we have 4 sim racers and 2 real world drivers as we guide you through on screen our entry list, which combines the very best of sim racers and real world racers as well. And we'll try and distinguish between those as the racing goes on. Hopefully we're getting a few regular viewers, but also some newcomers. And if you are a newcomer, then maybe ping us a message on YouTube or Facebook. We'll try and pick up on that. And if you've got any messages for your favourite drivers over the course of the day, please do let us know. That will be wonderful to hear what your thoughts are. We had some good feedback last time out and some good interaction with people. As we look at the sim racers entry list, James Merrill's top of that list. We're going to be having a little chat with James a little bit later on. He's one of our featured drivers. We tend to focus on different drivers as we go through the calendar, just trying to give everybody a little bit of airtime, a little bit of focus. And for those of you wondering what a virtual lap of the Silverstone National Circuit looks like. We're going to be having a look at that in just a moment to bed us in.
Hi guys, my name's Josh Martin, driver of the Ski Tyres number 89 car in the Mini Challenge eSeries. It's important to get a good exit out of left field and carry as much straight line speed down the start finish straight as you can. Use all the curb on the way into the top, drop a gear, clip the curb on the inside and try not to run out too wide on the exit. Shift up to 6th on the way into Maggots. Use all the curb on the left hand side. It's very easy to lock up. You drop 3 gears down to 3rd, take a late apex and get on the throttle as quickly as you can onto the Wellington straight. We come under the bridge at about 115 miles an hour. The next corner is Brooklands, which is the best overtaking opportunity of the lap. You get hard on the brakes, drop 3 gears to 3rd, take a late apex, use all the curb on the inside, carry 3rd gear all the way around Luffield. Get on the power as quickly as you can to maximise the exit. You take the shortest line possible through the kink, and that's the lap of Silverstone National.
Now, in terms of the prizes that are coming up on this championship, again, those of you that are regular viewers for our first 2 rounds will know what superb prizes we've got. The top sim racer will take part in a mini challenge Cooper class weekend. What a prize that is, to move from the world of sim racing to go into the racetrack for real. And the top real world driver will receive a VRRC Race Pro Simulator. In total, the total prize pool is worth in excess of £20,000. This is a very, very serious championship that is being contested. And we thank our partners, MSL Motorsport Consultancy, HTC Vive, OBP Motorsport, NGK Sparkplug, Sparkplugs UK, Mini Challenge UK, of course, and Virtual Reality Racing Club, VRRC. Lots more people involved as well that we'll try and name check as we go through all of the 4 races and 2 qualifying sessions today. But very grateful for everybody's support in getting this wonderful championship underway. Got a few minutes before we get qualifying underway today, and probably rather than me wittering on, probably a good chance to ask Anthony. Anthony, how was your week, mate?
Good week, busy, lots going on. Just really finalising the details for the real world calendar. We really are almost there now. I'm just getting the sign off from the guys at Toka, and we should be able to release a calendar next week.
Oh, that's good. So something we can chat about on the Silverstone International configuration meeting next week.
Yeah, that should be possible.
Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, there has been a lot of movement towards club racing, and I think people are doing what the rest of the country is doing, and that is sort of moving slowly. Some club meetings happening. I was talking to a couple of championship coordinators yesterday about filming, because I run my own production company for filming, and at the moment the very strict guidelines, which I perfectly understand, means that we can't have any media at the club meeting. So we're not allowed to film. We've got customers who want us to film, but the circuits are sticking rigidly to the guidelines. And even though our cameramen would be more than socially distanced, I mean, there would be one cameraman every, I don't know, quarter of a mile around a track, if that. But they're sticking rigidly to it, and that's good to see. It's good that they want to bed the infrastructure in, and getting things absolutely right before we come out and play again. It is a shame for those that wanted the filming, but I was hoping we might live stream some club racing, must admit, but it's not to be for the moment. But we'll be back, and as Anthony said, the touring car program looking at kicking off with Mini Challenge on it the first weekend in August. Mr. Gow put the dates out very early, didn't he, on that, which was great, and a lot of planning ahead has been done, and we're looking forward to that greatly.
Yeah, certainly the dates came out very early on, and it gives us a great opportunity to plan. In fact, we had a a meeting with the organisers at TOCA, a virtual meeting obviously earlier in the week, and getting a good indication of what we can and can't do. But of course, between now and August, it's very, very likely that things are going to change quite dramatically.
Yeah, we would expect that. Going back to today's racing, during the week I had a chance to do something we've not done before, and that was hook up with a driver for an interview. I think we're going to be doing a few of these over the coming weeks, and delighted to have had a chat with Ryan Elliott. So let's have a look at my chat with Ryan.
Hello and a very warm welcome to the first of a series of interviews that we're going to do with some of the stars of the Mini Challenge eSeries, and a great pleasure to welcome Ryan Elliott into the studio today, the virtual studio that is. Everything's virtual, isn't it, about this race series? The studio, the commentary, the racing, the whole thing. Ryan, really good to see you, and thanks for joining us this morning on this. And what a fantastic start you've made. We've had 2 events so far, and you've had 2 podia, and I think the last event at Brands Hatch really showed consistency because you were hardly out of the top 10. What does it feel like to do that, and are you happy with the progress you're making so far?
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to be here with you today. Obviously, opportunities like this don't come very often for people like me, so it's an absolute pleasure. So far, we've had a bit of a rough start to the season. I was expecting a lot more, maybe considering some past results, especially in sim stuff. Some of the people who I'm even racing against in this series who I've beaten in the past, but like I said, at this point, I'm just trying to keep the consistency up because obviously there's four races each meeting. It's a really, really long season, and half of the series is that top 10 reverse grid. So my aim's sort of been to have race 1 between positions 7 and 10, so I can get a good reverse grid draw, which in 2 instances worked out well for me, having podiums, being able to get to that top end of the grid just through the reverse grid. But like I say, that's half the season, so it might mean that the people who finish high in race 1, like for instance Dave Marshall, who seems to be doing an amazing job so far, he hasn't been able to maybe have some of the results in the second race, which is where I'm trying to capitalise. I'm sort of doing the opposite of everyone else.
Certainly your pace has been there, and as I say, you know, at some point over the season, you know, even Dave Marshall was going to have a bad meeting, but Brands Hatch, you were really very, very consistent indeed. In terms of the overall championship, 8th position, I think, at the moment, but 5th on the sim races. And it looks to me, if we were plotting a graph of your results, you're going to go higher up. I don't want to put pressure on you for the remaining races, but it kind of looks that way. I imagine this is a prelude to other things that you want to do. A lot of racers that do sim racing are quite happy with that. But you have ambitions to get out on circuit, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So, I mean, I've been karting for probably 7 years this year. Sort of started to take a bit of a step away from it when it came to my studying GCSEs, and now I've gone on to get an actual job, so it's all sort of had to slow down a little bit. But the plan was to be back racing, but this time make the step into cars. I've sort of missed all the junior categories, but then I've come into this mini package doing this eSeries. I've been able to meet new people, like obviously series director Anthony Williams and some of the drivers like Max Coates, even Hammerton, etc. And it's just a really good place for me to prove myself against some of these people that I'd want to be racing in. So the plan would be to race Cooper Pro. I'm looking at buying a car, possibly, maybe making that step up next year. But obviously the pandemic's not helping very much. I mean, it's really unfortunate the situation we're in at the minute, but we just got to push through it. We'll be back racing soon.
Everything certainly is changing. The economy, sport, the whole world, politics, everything changing with pandemic, as you rightly say. One of the things that I don't think will change is the appeal of the mini championship, because you've got, you know, what Anthony has put together. It's a ladder, isn't it? I mean, I was fortunate enough to work on Mini Festival last year and get to see all of the mini paddock, whether it's Cooper Am, Cooper Pro, JCWs, and the other classes that they nurture and run superbly. So you can start off anywhere on that ladder, can't you? And I think next year, if next year's calendar is similar to this year's, if you do make it into Cooper Pro, fingers crossed for you. And you know, if there are sponsors out there having a look, they'd be very silly to pass up an opportunity to work with you, not just as sponsors, but as marketing as well, because you'll give them a great day out at the racetrack and a great experience. But Cooper Pro, you know, it's going to be, I think, part of the touring car package again next year. Certainly it was what's planned this year. So terrific value for them if they get involved.
Yeah, that was one of the major selling points, I think, when we were looking towards this year, but obviously my studying took over again. But it was that idea where they had 2 meetings on the touring car package. Obviously you get TV exposure, the hospitality opportunities are incredible at touring car meetings, and like you say, the mini family is just incredible. It provides a real ladder, like you were saying. It's unlike when I was maybe looking at Clios before. You sort of have to just jump straight into the Clio Cup. It was quite a big step for someone like myself, but with this, it's sort of like a ladder where I can start maybe in Cooper Am or Cooper Pro, and then work myself up, prove myself into maybe stepping into JCW, which obviously now is the primary feeder of the touring cars, which, like most races, is my absolute dream.
That would be absolutely mega to see you there. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the Toker package. I hope you can sort it out. So backpedaling a little bit, maybe background. How old are you at the moment?
18 years old.
So you're driving on the road. Have you actually had a go in a race car at all?
Yeah, I've been very fortunate to have a couple of testing opportunities. So I've tested initially we did some Saxo testing, did the scholarship there and did quite well. Then I got a taster in a Fiesta Junior around Donington. That was really good. I really enjoyed that. And then towards just before pandemic hit, at the beginning of March, I was testing Ginetta GT5 around Donington, which was a mega experience. But I feel like I enjoy front wheel drive cars. I want to be more towards touring cars than a GT sort of career. So I'm really looking forward to hopefully when we get back racing, maybe getting some testing in a Cooper before maybe we go out and commit to a season.
Well, thanks very much for that. And just to sum up, give us your thoughts on the mini challenge eSeries before we say cheerio.
It's absolutely mega. I mean, having people like yourself on board to do the commentary is something really uncommon in the sim racing world. The quality of the series, like even when you look at the stewarding, the quality of the streams is just incredible. It's really bringing people like me who maybe are more now sim racers and real racers. We're bringing us back into the limelight a little bit, which is really nice. We're getting some really good attention at the minute.
That's really nice of you to say, and I've got to say I'm mightily impressed with the calibre of drivers we've got. You know, the real races and the sim races, absolutely incredible. And my one regret at the moment is that we can't all go in the bar at the end of a meeting. It's that's a real pain in the neck. But hopefully we'll have a get together. I'm sure Max and Anthony and Rich and the team will try and sort something like that out when we get back to some sort of normality. Ryan, I was asked to just do a quick chat with you. Thanks very much for answering my questions and coming online this morning. Good luck for the rest of the series, and we look forward to chatting to you on the podium, I'm sure, at many of the upcoming rounds.
Thank you very much for having me. I hope you enjoy the rest of the racing, guys.
Thanks, Ryan.
Qualifying is underway. Wouldn't you know it, looking at the free practice times, there we were saying that Jack Mack was fastest from Dave Marshall, and Dave Marshall decided to bang in a quick lap right towards the early end. So the machine, Marshall as we're calling him now, was there and bang on the pace at exactly the right time to wind everybody else up. 20 minutes of qualifying is underway. We'll wait till the pace starts to settle down before we begin to look at the time. I tell you what, no, I am going to look at the times because Dave Marshall, straight out of the box, has gone P2, 1:13.018. And it's the birthday boy from yesterday, turned 21 yesterday, Callum Newsham, one of the... Now, do we call them the dynamic duo? I saw on social media they picked up that we called them that, but they're calling themselves the Newsham Nutters, Jordan Brennan and Callum Newsham. Quite like the Newsham Nutters, but does that give due respect to Callum as we look at the 23 car of Ethan Hammerton? He's one of our featured drivers today. We'll be looking at him in race number 1. Rob Butler was quick in free practice, and a number of drivers I think have been availing themselves, Anthony, of a little bit of coaching now as we move through the schedule.
Yeah, certainly that's the rumour that I've heard as well, and it's quite interesting that some of that coaching is coming from other drivers on the grid. So whether that's the start of some form of informal teamwork, perhaps in order to try and improve results, I'm not sure.
It's a good thing though, and it shows that there's some very good camaraderie out there as well. In the
Yeah,
which is
I think the guys will get on well. They've been chatting on the forums, and overall, I think that there's some good spirits amongst them. So yes, it's certainly good to see them trying to help each other out and get that a little bit quicker. But frankly, they're all so close anyway. I'm not sure we want them to get much closer because this circuit is certainly renowned for incident, and I can imagine we're going to get a few more of those. In fact, actually on social media, remember everybody, make sure you get your comments coming across. Certainly the Newsham Nutters were particularly good at doing that last weekend. But we had a comment from Bradley Dunn just asking about penalties. So just a quick reminder to everybody that we've got some automatic penalties built into the simulator system for track limits. So you get two track limits excesses sort of free without any penalty, but then on the third one, it's an automatic drive-through penalty that's created in the software, so that's automatically done. And then in terms of on-track incidents between drivers, after the races, the drivers, just like in the real world, are able to put in a protest, should I say, and then the clerk of the course will look at that incident and determine whether any penalties need to be applied. And last time out at Brands, obviously another close racing circuit, there were a few penalties applied, and that's been taken into account in the championship standings this weekend.
Yeah, it's all very well looked at, isn't it, as we look at Max Coates. Funnily enough, it's a bit spooky actually, because when we flicked to Max on shot there, it was the same corner that I remembered a line that Max came out with. Max came and joined us very late notice on the Toka package for the live ITV4 commentary. I think it wasn't arranged till the Saturday night that he was going to come and commentate with us to come and stand in. And it was the same corner. I remember one of his, when I thought, blimey, he's really got into this very quickly. And Max does, whatever he does, he can turn his hand to it extremely well, as he did co-commentary with me. And it was the exact point where that twigged in my mind, where we picked up on it. Now, how spooky is that? As we look at Will Fairclough, who's really starting to come on. He's had a little bit of coaching as well. Running the FT0 Pro wheel is Will, 42 years of age, from Pembrokeshire, real estate developer, and a Mini Challenge Cooper S-Class driver, had a win in 2018, motorbike enthusiast as well. I love this track. It's for watching racing, and particularly broadcast racing, always one of my favourites, because a lot of people say, and I cast my mind back, when we were at Brands Hatch, I was talking about the Brands Hatch commentator, Brian Jones. There was another commentator who sort of took over from Brian by the name of Robin Murphy. And I remember Robin introducing a Formula Ford racer one weekend and saying, oh, well, he'll be good. He's an instructor at Silverstone, so he'll be good on the straight flat bits, which is not a particularly flattering thing to say. But there was a reputation that Silverstone was, didn't have the undulations that Brands Hatch has, and has a lot of straights. But to my mind, it's actually a very good track, and always seen really good racing here. So there's not a particularly kind or valid comment, in my opinion. There's the championship leader, Dave Marshall, the machine, doing well up into second place at the moment. But this is going the way free practice went with Jack Mack. Silent Assassin, great nickname applied by Anthony Williams last time out. He is topping the table at the moment. MacIntyre, Marshall, Butler, Max Bird starting to come to the fore again. Was very much out of luck, wasn't it, Brands, with that superb qualifying in Q2, but there was a technical problem to rerun qualifying, and it bumped him a little bit further down. But he's running well. From Callum Newsham, and I thought Callum might have been a little bit hungover today, bearing in mind he's just turned 21, but fifth position for him at the moment. So Callum running well, which is good to see.
No, that certainly is, and you're right. Max last time out was looking strong, but just didn't seem to quite convert that into the result. I think he was a bit unlucky with that rerun of qualifying, wasn't he? And I've noticed that his mum, Sarah's watching on social media, so a big shout out to her. And as I said on the comments, I'm sure she'll be shouting at the screen later on if Max is up there towards the sharp end of the grid.
I hope so. There's the man on provisional pole at the moment, Jack MacIntrye. And Jack is third in the championship. Just a reminder, we did show you the championship graphic earlier on. It's Dave Marshall, the leader, 369 points to 313 of Josh Hislop. Sounds like a huge gap. Just a reminder, 50 points for a win. So if if it's a non-finish for Dave Marshall, then that lead can just go. Also 6 points for fastest lap, 6 points for the fastest driver in qualifying as well. From the win, 50 points, we go down to 44 for second, 40 for third, 37, 34, and then down by 2 until we get to, let me see, 25 points for 10th, and it goes down by 1 point for every finisher. So it's all fair that way. Good news, those of you who are watching the Brands Hatch round will probably remember me saying that Lewis Brown was going to have to go to work today. Looks like his dad's let him off work, and he's there. He's 19th on the grid at the moment, so I'm glad to see Lewis Brown there. I'm glad that his dad's seen a bit of sense and allowed him out on track, but he'll want to be a little bit further up the ears at the moment here in Q1. Ryan Elliott, the man we heard from in the video, is running 12th at the moment. He's 5th in the standings for the sim racers. As we look at Luke Kidsley, another driver we would expect to see a little bit further up the order, running in 16th at the moment. Again, had a little bit of bad luck at Brands Hatch, but hopefully things will start to turn his way. Remember, we're not even at the halfway stage of the season. That will come at the end of our next round, which is on the other half of the Silverstone complex, where we were looking forward to having our Toka debut, which we would have had. And Anthony, it's a bit weird, isn't it? You know, with the I was looking at my calendar, which I haven't actually struck the original dates off of the calendar, and this weekend would have marked the halfway point of the original Toka season. So we're actually about to head into our Toka break.
Incredible, isn't it? Obviously, the world has changed dramatically in the last few months, and obviously, it's a shame that we haven't had the real racing to enjoy. And to be thinking that we would have been halfway through the season is quite incredible, isn't it?
And not having started doing anything at all. Although we have had this has made such a this filled a bit of a void for me. I've got to be honest. Like
I said on a couple of times, really, I've been surprised at how much I've got into it, and it is great seeing the guys racing, and the actual when we get into the racing, it's exciting, just like the real world. But of course, they do just have the option to reset and not worry about the damage, and perhaps that's something which at some point we might need to look at thinking about trying to recreate that penalty for damage, I think, in the sim racing too.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
So just a reminder to everybody again, keep those comments coming on social media. We're trying to build up some nicknames, and obviously with Rob Butler currently sitting in third place, we don't have a nickname for him. So I've suggested that perhaps you could all come back to me with some ideas as a nickname, but keep it clean, please.
Yeah, the rude ones won't get read out. Dave Marshall is back where he has been. He's looking to maintain a 100% record here of grabbing pole positions. He's done it in every qualifying session so far, and he's 300ths clear of Jack MacIntrye, with Rob Butler third, Matt Richards fourth, appropriately in the number four car. Then Max Bird, who is the top real world driver. Here's Ethan Hammerton. He's one of our featured drivers for this one. As you can see, a varied career: Junior Saloons, Junior UK Clio Cup, which I think was that 1 weekend or 2 weekends did that run for? Not very long for sure. Then VW Cup, Fun Cup, bit of BTCC if you remember that, and a race-winning driver from Renault UK Clio Cup. And I'll have a chat with him about that when we get to have a little bit of a natter with Ethan later on. He is 17th at the moment, championship-wise, 21st, and looking to try and get up into the top 20, which I think he should probably do this weekend. His all of his results, best results so far, 17th, which was Donington Park Race 3. Wasn't involved in the reverse grid section. Obviously, it's only the top 10 that get reversed for the even numbered races of each meeting. But Ethan, at the moment, very close on the times to his near neighbour, Max Coates, who's 16th. So Max a little bit disappointing at the moment, down in 16th place. And the other side of Ethan Hammerton, we've got Will Fairclough. Here's another of our drivers that we're looking forward to having a chat to, and that's Scott Jeffs. And Scott racing, planning to race at the moment in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. And he's going to be our featured driver, I think, in race 2. So Ethan Hammerton and Scott Jeffs in this first part of our meeting, and we'll focus them on the race. And we'll also have a chat with them after the podium interviews, after each of the races as well, barring technical problems. As we watch Scott in the number 90 car, Scott running a Thrustmaster T300 wheel, T3PA pedals. Didn't tell us what screens he's using, but the mixture of screens being used by most of the competitors, mixture of single screen, some competitors using a triple setup or a single curve. Then we'll try and give you a little bit more information on those. The other thing that came through last week, Anthony, was that a lot of drivers now they're in the championship, actually getting competitive and upgrading kit as well. Someone said Dave Marshall done an upgrade.
I heard something about that. I think that a different steering wheel, possibly with different feedback, that was mentioned. So I guess that gives him, ultimately more feedback about what's going on underneath him in the car, and perhaps gets a little bit more precise in terms of the cornering. So yes, and I've certainly heard some of the real world drivers have realised that their kits need a little bit of an upgrade, and have been improving elements of those rigs.
And it's like just like the real world, you're going to try and get every advantage that you can out of the kit that you've got, and take advice from other people, and just try and move up the order.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was chatting with one of the drivers in the week actually, and really just trying to understand a little bit more about these cars. And ultimately, the setup on them is fairly fixed. That they are able to be changed, but in order to make it closer and more competitive and easier for everybody to get to grips with it, we've got a base setup on the car, and that's what they use. They can adjust the fuel levels and a few other things, but basically the cars are very, very straightforward to drive or to set up, and therefore those little changes in terms of feedback and making force feedback steering wheels and the right pedal setup, and indeed making sure your hardware is fast enough to stream all the imagery without too much in the way of glitching, clearly helps make sure that you can get the best possible results.
And those results are the sort of thing that James Merrill's there is looking to try and achieve. Founding director of Merrill's Motorsports Limited, a motorsports marketing company, currently studying for a degree in financial trading and investment management, and a supporter of Diabetes UK. I'm always really happy to mention such support. My co-commentator on ITV4, Paul O'Neill, of course, very well known and high profile as a racing diabetic, and I know, James, if you get to watch this back, go and have a chat with Paul at the racetrack, because he really does encourage people and swap stories and experiences about how he copes with that, living with diabetes, and a lot more successful diabetics doing well in motorsport. So good that they all swap ideas and promote the fact that other diabetics can come in and race successfully. James Driving started off, as many drivers do, in karts when he was just 6, so he's been on wheels for a long time. As we look at Tom Williams, and where is Tom at the moment? He's been up at the sharp end now and then. I think he's a little bit further down the order today, Tom Williams. Going to have to dive onto the phone to find out where he is. A little bit far down. Good laps from Alex Toth-Jones up into the top 3. Alex running with one of our key sponsor partners, and the 23-year-old from Bradford, of course, very well known in national racing, did an F4 test a while ago, raced in Kinetic Challenge for 3 years, British GT racer in GT4 in 2019. We've got just 3.5 minutes on the clock, with Dave Marshall looking like he is going to pick up a 5th consecutive pole as we stay with Alex Toth-Jones in 3rd place. Could be a good one for him. It was Rob Butler who got poked down to 4th position. Matt Richards now in 5th, Max Bird 6th, then Jordan Brennan, the Bear Brennan, he's up there in 7th position. And then in 8th position, Isaac Smith, again, another driver who could very well break into the top 3 and be capable of a win. Tobin Lee, a little bit of a surprise for me today, is down there at the moment in 12th place. Tobin 4th in the championship, so could potentially lose a wee bit of ground here on Jack MacIntyre, Josh Hislop and Dave Marshall, who are ahead of him in the championship. Now, talking of Josh Hislop, he's down in 15th. So we've got 2 real key championship contenders, Tobin Lee and Josh Hislop, outside of the top 10 at the moment. This is exactly what Anthony Williams was saying. It is so close. Don't be surprised, although we are, that key drivers can find themselves a little bit further down the grid.
This is certainly a circuit that, like Brands, Indy really does pull everybody very close together. But of course, we've seen, even earlier in the year at Donington, these guys are all very close in terms of the lap times. I mean, what are we talking? Down to 20th place, less than half a second. So yeah, really close.
So having a quick look at the graphic for Kenny Press. He's our featured driver. Alex Toth-Jones in race 3. Kenny Press in race 4. 41-year-old from Draycott, Derbyshire. And as you can see from his sim racing career, SRO Clio Cup UK Champion 2017, GT4 Super Cup Champion 2017, and Formula Renault Winter Series 2018 Champion. So a lot of experience of sim racing, and I think very much enjoying himself. There is Kenny in the number 5, using a Logitech G29 wheel and pedals, and using, assuming we're still up to date with the equipment he's using, single screen. So it does vary from the 3-screen setup, single curved, or thinking single flat maybe for Kenny Press. But again, for those of you, and particularly for my son again who's listening, Logitech equipment, very capable of taking championship wins. You've got 1 minute 11 on the clock, and it's Dave Marshall still there on a 61.3. Jack Mack in 2nd, Alex Toth-Jones is 3rd from Rob Butler, then Jordan Brennan, Matt Richards, Max Bird, Isaac Smith. Max Coates now into the top 10, he's 9th. Then it's Ryan Elliott rounding out the top 10 from Callum Newsham. Tobin Lee 12th, Lewis Brown, Josh Martin, Josh Hislop. Tom Williams 16th at the moment from Luke Kidsley. Rue Clark 18th, first mention of the day for Rue. We have seen him on shot. Ethan Hammerton 19th, Will Fairclough in 20th. And still plenty of drivers to add to the list outside those, but 25 seconds on the clock. And MacIntyre goes quickest again. So Jack Mack, is he going to depose? As we look at Tobin Lee very briefly, there is Ryan Elliott, the youngster we had a chat with in the week. Nice little interview with Ryan, did a super job. All of these guys that we've interviewed, spoken to on the podium, have done very well with their interviews. It's been a real pleasure to talk to them. And we'll be doing some more of those over the coming weeks. As MacIntyre, what a time to put in that lap. We've got the checkered flag out. It looks like, unless Dave Marshall is on a hot lap, there's Lewis Brown going through. And coming down into Brooklands, unless Dave Marshall, it's only 2 thousandths of a second between Jack MacIntyre and Dave Marshall. Marshall's going to find himself under pressure here, Anthony.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, look at that. Just how close can it be? Whether he can keep it to the end of the session, who knows? But yeah, I mean, that's incredible, isn't it? 2 thousandths of a second.
So they're all going to complete their lap, because once the clock finishes, they do get the opportunity to complete the lap that they are on. Not good for Dave Marshall. They said P2 is not a problem, as we watch Max Coates looking to maintain the top 10. But great for the championship to see Jack MacIntyre breaking the stranglehold on pole position. The Top Gun Dave Marshall having his stranglehold broken, but only by 2 thousandths of a second. Absolutely incredibly close. Alex Toth-Jones, a good standout in qualifying for me, with a very strong 3rd place. And then Rob Butler. So that gives us our grid. Jordan Brennan is 5th. 6th position going to Matt Richards in the number 4. Then it's Tobin Lee, Max Bird, Isaac Smith next up from Max Coates. So Max is going to be disappointed, I think, to be that far down, but a 61.3 best time. Anthony, predictions for the race with that grid?
Well, I mean, it looks like we've got the two sim drivers, Jack MacIntyre and Dave Marshall, just a little bit of a gap. I mean, it's only a tenth and a half, but nevertheless, a little bit of a gap between them and the rest. So I think you could see those two perhaps battling themselves for the win. And then obviously we've got a whole gaggle of other people that could be there for the third podium position. But of course, it could all change in the race anyway.
It probably will, won't it?
Indeed.
Say Hammer into Cop's corner for the first time as the rest of the grid. With Thomas O'Farrell 30th, Ryan Dignan just ahead of him. Theo Bridgeman, who was one of our featured drivers last time out. Scott Jeff's featured driver this time, 27th, ahead of him. James Merrill's another driver that we're looking at. Then Keir McConomy, I think, has been having a wee bit of coaching as well. Mini real racer regular. Simon Reed just ahead of him. James MacIntyre in 23rd. Then our Death in Paradise man, Damien Hall, is next up, the Barbadian police officer. Head of, just behind rather, Scott Thorne, Will Fairclough 20th, Ethan Hammerton 19th. Again, around about where we expect him to be based on championship positions so far. Rue Clark in 18th as we move up the grid. 17th, Luke Kidsley, and in 16th position, it is Tom Williams. But new pole position man here, which is, as I say, very good for the series. And the question is, what sort of run from the inside can Dave Marshall get? Remember, pole position is the outside line. Let's have a moment, though, to have a chat with one of our featured drivers, Ethan Hammerton. 19th on the grid, Ethan. How are you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. It's very close out there, especially round here. I think there's 4/10 split in the whole of the top 20. So yeah, it's going to.
It is very, very close out there indeed, isn't it? And so, are you happy with what you did? Did you find some track space?
Yeah, I managed to get a decent lap in, I think. To be fair, compared to my qualifying, I think I was probably a 10th off, so I was sort of expecting to be around that sort of mark with the times. But yeah, I think it'll all be different in the race because obviously everyone's so close. So there's always some drama on lap one. Just want to try and get through it cleanly and then go from there.
That's exactly what Anthony Williams was saying about, that one. It's just going to be a big sort out, isn't it, as we go through. So not too unhappy then.
No, not too unhappy. I think, to be honest, this is probably my best result so far. So, yeah, keep chipping away, keep going.
That's it, mate. Get into the top 20, then into the top 15, and make sure you're in the top 5 by the time we get to our final event, which is Brands Hatch GP.
Hopefully.
Nice one. Good luck for the race, fella. And I think we'll have a chat with you after the podium interviews. That is, if you don't make it up onto the podium yourself. Ethan Hammerton there, qualifying in 19th position. Great to have a little chat with him as we look forward to our first race of 4 today. I'm not sure if we're going to get a chance to whether we've got time to have a word with Jack Mack. First race is due to be underway at 12:30. Probably haven't got time to talk to the pole man, but I suspect his name might come up in turn over the course of the rest of the day. But certainly good to have a chat with our first day with Ethan Hammerton. So looking forward to our first race. This is round number 9, or race number 9, our campaign for the official Minute Challenge eSeries with Virtual Reality Racing Club. Remember, next time we are on Silverstone International, but the cars forming up on the grid, our virtual grid, ready for the first time out on the spiritual home of British motor racing here at Silverstone as we get a great look down the Wellington Straight. Plenty of opportunities to slipstream along there. And it's in many ways a classic layout. There are a lot of overtaking opportunities around here, and it's been interesting to course of the week and which parts of the track they struggle with. And the most struggles that I found were coming out of Baggots and heading up in towards Beckett's. Baggots is the left-hand sweep, and then Brown's Beckett's in the right. But the cars are on the grid. We're getting ready for our first race of the day. Jack MacIntyre and Dave Marshall are on the front of the grid, and that iconic view from Copse Corner as the lights go on and we get ready. MacIntyre in blue, right of the front, left of the front row as we look at them, and he's outside. It's MacIntyre that makes a good start. Marshall slotting into second position, but Jack Mac, it is that leads him around Copse Corner for the first time, and a good start from him. This is one of the areas where we'll get track limits. We won't get any track limits penalties on lap 1, as you've heard already from Anthony Williams. They get a couple of strikes before they go out. Nice bit of curb cam there as they go through Maggots, and a super start then by Jack MacIntyre, who leads them around Beckett's. But Dave Marshall having a look up the inside line here. Marshall read that well, but he's on the outside line as they come down the Wellington straight. MacIntyre's got the run as they come into the left-hander at Brooklands, and I think they will hang on to it. Question here is, will Marshall just back out of that or try and go around the outside line? He's sticking on the outside, and that tees him up with the inside as they go into Luffield. Superb stuff from Dave Marshall. Superb. Wonderful stuff, Anthony.
Absolute classic Silverstone overtaking manoeuvre there, isn't it? And it really does create some exciting racing. Not the most exciting circuit to drive, but great to race on.
Oh, it's a super one to watch the racing on as well. And I tell you what, Jack MacIntyre is coming back. MacIntyre back in the position. Marshall's got to brave it out on the outside line again as they go through Copse for the second time. Watch for track limits there. Just like the real thing. Incredible. Couple of cars going well over it. And, well, as you heard, the penalties are built in. They'll know that. Again, that wonderful cab. But look at this. Marshall this time. Is he going to be able to run around the outside? No, he's not, because MacIntyre is very much wise to that. Marshall's going to have a look to see if he can come on the inside line, which is the right of shot as we look at them. Third position, Alex Toth-Jones running well. Jordan Brennan is in fourth position as we focus rightly on the leaders coming into Brooklands. Again, a bit of a lock-up there, I think, possibly from the fourth place car, Jordan Brennan. Rob Butler next up. Then it's Tobin Lee up into sixth place. Tobin's had a mega first lap. It's
great, isn't it? What amazing racing. There's just incidents and battles going on all the way down the field. They just seem to spread out a little bit now, though. So perhaps Jack Mac and Dave and these three leaders really just starting to edge away a little bit.
Absolutely right. Max Bird dropping back down the order. Now, if it's an early stage drop down, it's either bundling out or perhaps jump start. Not sure what, as we look at one of our featured drivers, Ethan Hammerton, trying to make progress. Dicing there with Lewis Brown in the number 39, but it's MacIntyre and Marshall for the lead, the two sim racers. MacIntyre third in the championship, but the second in the sim racing category. Remember, these drivers are vying over the course of the season to go real world mini challenge racing, which is an absolutely sensational prize. That's what they're after. They're enjoying themselves in the meantime. Make no mistake about that. It's a very, very serious prize, part of £20,000 worth of prizes, which are going to be earned by these drivers over the course of this 8 weekend. This is our third weekend, and it is still a super race for the lead, and one of the best early stage battles we've had so far here at Silverstone. Alex Toth-Jones coming up in the mix as well in third place. He's not out of this by any stretch of the imagination. A little bit of a gap back maybe to Jordan Brennan, but remember, Jordan's moved up from his starting position. Started in fifth place and now off into fourth. Rob Butler behind him. Then Tobin Lee. We probably need to keep an eye on Tobin as well. Fastest lap, unsurprisingly, first flying lap, was with Dave Marshall. So might have lost out on the 6 points for pole position qualifying, but at the moment, getting that back on fastest lap as we now, again, this is such a very accurately simulated race and settling down into the sort of thing that you do see on the national circuit in Silverstone as we watch Callum Newsham. Many happy returns to him for yesterday, turned 21, and he is busy chasing Max Coates at the moment. So Max 9th, Callum Newsham is in 10th position there. And then chasing them, it's Josh Hislop. Josh further back than I would have expected to see. I'm sure he raced very successfully here on a meeting I commentated on in Fiesta Juniors. So I would have expected to see him a little bit further up. But at the moment, outside the top 10, which is very unusual to see. Luke Kidsley behind him, then Lewis Brown. This, though, the battle for the lead, and Dave Marshall is trying to work out what he can do as he comes on to Wellington Straight, following the race leader, Jack MacIntyre. What can he do?
I mean, it's he's certainly getting that slipstream here. You can just see him edging in. Whether it's going to be quite close enough to make a move, he's going for it. But will he be able to make it stick? It's looking possible, but of course, as they turn right, he loses out again.
Yeah,
but it's so close, isn't it?
Yeah, Jack MacIntyre knew what he was doing there and holds on to it. There is a danger as you come out of Woodcote here that you can leave the door open and allow a pursuer to nip through on the inside line, maybe with a bit more momentum. Certainly not the case at the moment with the 66 car. So as we approach, we're past actually quarter distance already on this 20-minute race. Remember, we've got 4 20-minute races for you. Next race will get underway at around about 1 o'clock. And then our second set of races qualifying at 1:45, race 3 at 2:15, race 4 2:45. Please join us for that as we go on board with Tobin Lee. Tobin 4th in the championship, 3rd in the sim racers class, and was further down the order than we would have expected to see. Now, he was telling me on the interview last time out, you might remember Brands Hatch, that he didn't like the reverse grid racing. That's effectively what he's doing here. He gave himself a big task, but he's got up into the top 6 and having a very good run. And looking at the rear end of Rob Butler's car, there is Rob, the predominantly white car with the blue trim. And Tobin, I think, is going to have a look down the inside line here. There's not room at the moment for Rob Butler. And Tobin Lee, who is no slouch as a sim racer, giving him a very good run. But he'll want to be up there dicing with Jack Mack and the Machine Marshall for 1 and 2, without a doubt in this one.
Yeah, I think that's what he's going to be aiming for, obviously. And like you said, it's almost like the reverse grid is coming through the field. Obviously, very difficult to pass at any on any circuit. This is perhaps one of the ones that's slightly easier, but still not easy.
Fascinating stuff as we look down, just trying to see where the second of our dynamic duo is. Jordan Brennan in 4th place, Callum Newsham down in 10th at the moment, still trailing Max Coates. Josh Martin up ahead of Max Coates in 8th place. Ryan Elliott 7th, having another good run. Ryan, a driver that just bets himself into something very quiet. It was great defensive racing from him last time out at Brands Hatch. And this the view, if we're rear-facing into the 2nd place driver, and Dave Marshall, the championship leader, he's still got the fastest lap. No, Jordan Brennan with fastest lap now. So Dave Marshall gets a potential 6 points whipped away from him by Jordan Brennan, who's running in 4th position. And Marshall now slipstream. Look at that, very nearly bump drafting as they come into Cops Corner. Looks like someone's had a drive-through there, just on the left of shot will come out. Can't quite see who that was on the timing screen, but we'll try and pick up on that for you. And
incredible camera angle, that one, isn't it, Richard?
It's
watching the ebbing and flowing of the gap between Jack MacIntyre and Dave Marshall there in 1st and 2nd.
Yeah, Jack Mack doing everything exactly right at the moment as they come down Wellington Straight, and just watch the car get sucked into the toe. And is he going to have a look down the inside line again? He is! He can't quite do it though. He just saw a little dab on the brakes. He's going to look for the inside line again. But remember, if you hang on to the outside, it's the inside line as you go into Luffield and then through to Woodcote. And I'll tell you what, Jack MacIntyre has got that sussed out. It's not just about learning the track, it's about learning the racecraft in these cars as well. Let's not forget Alex Toth-Jones having a very good run in the MSL Motorsport Consultancy car in 3rd place. Max Bird in the 44 is down in 16th place. We saw a lot more promise from him. It's easy to say it's disappointing for him to be down there, but there are so many drivers capable of being up in the top 10, indeed up on the podium, and so close, as you heard Ethan Hammerton say, with the top 20 covered by 0.4 of a second as Max Bird puts the Bluebird development machine right on the rear end of the 1-2-3 car of Isaac Smith. Isaac, the reigning BRSCC Fiesta champion. And a good race between those two. And of course, we'll see Max here for real, hopefully, later on in the season.
Absolutely, we will. And I think Sarah, his mum, commented on Facebook that there was a bit of contact on lap 1 that pushed, unfortunately, Max down the order. So it's now a bit of a recovery drive from him.
Covering well, though. 16th at the moment. And as I say, Isaac Smith, when we had the practice race at Donington Park in the week running up to our first event, Isaac was winning that one as we watch Rob Butler still running in 5th position. And would do well here, perhaps, to follow Tobin Lee. Tobin now up into 5th place. It's been a super performance from Tobin Lee, trying to close in on Jordan Brennan, the white car immediately in front of him. There is Alex Toth-Jones in 11, and Toby under a little bit of pressure here from Rob Butler, who's looking pretty good. Remember, Rob at Brands Hatch in the first set of races snuck into, makes it sound like it was a little bit lucky, but he earned a 10th place in the closing stages of that race to pick up the reverse grid pole, which he again made very good use of. And he's having a very good look here around the outside line, but I can't quite deal with Tobin Lee. Remember, Tobin's got past him once, but Rob wants to repay the favour. And here a very good, clear onboard look at what happens as they come out of Woodcote back across the start-finish line here at this iconic venue. And Silverstone, the way they've developed it over the years, absolutely superb. You can actually have 2 race meetings here on the same day, potentially 3, because you've got the Stowe circuit as well. If you've ever been there, it's Kiam Economy in the 21 car, another real world mini championship regular, comes from Lichfield in Staffordshire, 45 years of age, so one of the more mature drivers running in this championship. Where is Keir at the moment? 23rd place, and chasing Theo Bridgeman, one of our featured drivers from last time out. Still Jack MacIntyre is up front. Dave Marshall's got the fastest lap back again though, so Marshall, never ever discount Dave Marshall as we watch.
Jack MacIntyre just edging away a little bit there though, Richard. There's a half a second or so gap, where it was previously we were looking at more like a 10th. So clearly hardly a safe, secure lead, but just edging it away a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely right. In terms of points, I'm just thinking about this. If Marshall hangs on to second place and fastest lap, he'll get the same points as the race winner. So they both get 50 points. So it's all to play for Marshall, and he's sort of in a position here. He won't necessarily play the game, but he's in a position where he could start to just consolidate points because he's got a reasonable lead. He just needs to keep finishing. We're watching Josh Hislop, who's up ahead of Callum Newsham. So Josh Hislop there. Now this is interesting because Hislop in 10th place. So with 8 minutes on the clock, if things stay like this, the one thing you can probably guarantee with Josh Hislop is that he'll probably make some more gains up the order. But at the moment, he's on provisional pole for the reverse grid race 2, and as the man who runs second in the championship, you would be very brave to bet against him taking a win from the front of the reverse grid race. And that's where he's sitting at the moment. But Callum Newsham would like to get back in the mix, try and get past him. I think Lewis Brown is the next car we'll see to shine. Indeed, it is in black and yellow. So all of those drivers, Hislop, Newsham, Lewis Brown, Luke Kidsley, all in with a shout on the reverse grid pole. Could be Josh Martin, who's just ahead in the green and black livery and coming through. He's in 9th place. Max Coates ahead of them, so Max could be on for a decent reverse grid result as well. Quick check on the timing screen. Dave Marshall's still there with a 1:01.5, and as Anthony said, 3/10 to the good. Over him at the moment is Jack MacIntyre, who is actually here looking for 2 wins on the bounce because he took his first series win, Brands Hatch race 4. So are we going to start to see a Jack MacIntyre roll of wins, do you think?
Well, I mean, he's clearly not quite managed to finish it off yet, so we've got a little while to find out whether he can pull this one together. But I've noticed that the times are just starting to come down again, and Dave Marshall's just closing in, edging in on Jack MacIntyre. I wonder if Dave's been exploring some slightly different lines in some clearer air before he maybe makes a charge right towards the end of the race. But yeah, that gap's just edging back down again now.
Certainly it is, isn't it? It is coming down. It's not the pattern we've seen over previous races where Dave Marshall's got away off the front. He's having to work for this one. So we watch Scott Jeffs having a good battle with James Merrill, one of our featured drivers this weekend. Super battle. It's for 20th position, but a good race between the two. And Scott's going to have a look up the inside line as they come through Copse Corner and makes it through. Very good move indeed by him. Another super shot here, Max Coates busy looking at Ryan Elliott, so those two having a good battle. Elliott in 7th place, Max trying to close down on him. Great shot of Ryan Elliott immediately in front. These two, again, I think virtually near neighbours, certainly up from the northeast, as Coates tries to have a look on the inside line. Quite doing there. Max at the moment is 7th in the championship. Matt Richards just ahead of him. Max the 3rd, the podium position in the real world races at the moment as we watch him. I'm not sure if he's live streaming today. Had some issues with live streaming his own setup separately from this so that people could see what he was doing. But wound up with a little bit of net lag, which I think was affecting his racing a little bit. So I'm not sure if he's doing that today, but still trying to chase Ryan Elliott, who's having a good one at the moment in 7th position. Gap definitely come down. This is the battle for the lead, as Anthony rightly pointed out. The 66 car piling the pressure on and having a look up the inside line again as they come into Brooklands, but Jack Mack trying to hang on to it on the outside line if Marshall can get across, and there's a little bit of contact there between the two, and that was real world racing, wasn't it? MacIntyre was having none of it, Anthony.
No, that was pretty robust for sure, and again, just managed to hold on to it. Whether that's something that Dave Marshall maybe wants to have somebody have a look at after the race, I'm not sure, but it's still clearly very close, and we've got plenty of time for Dave Marshall to have another attempt at making a move stick.
Yeah, super stuff, isn't it? Really getting stuck in, as you can see. Sponsored by Silverstone Composite, so effectively you could say home tarmac for the championship leader, who is not giving up the chase at all, having a very, very good stat at the moment. Dave Marshall, 26 years of age, from Seaham County, Durham, has done a little bit of track action on 4 wheels, did the Want to Race Scholarship, is a finalist in 2019, and was a Team Hard Scholarship finalist last year. But in terms of actual car racing, hasn't done any, but you could see that, well, any of these drivers in this field would be a very competent and able addition to real-world grids. And this is a great race, and I'll tell you what, I think MacIntyre's getting a bit flustered, makes a mistake, runs wide, and the machine needs no second invitation to pop through on the inside line. Now, was that a pressure mistake, do you think?
I think it certainly looked that way, didn't it? He's clearly come under pressure for the last 17 minutes, and in the end, maybe just a small mistake has cost him that opportunity for the win and to displace the machine from that top spot.
Incredible stuff. A move on lap 17 then for Jack MacIntyre. Here's Alex Toth-Jones. Podium in the offing for Alex. That's good news. Top real-world racer in this one. So we're looking at the real-world class leader. Jordan Brennan not that far away. Tobin Lee still in 5th. The race has settled down. Rob Butler in 6th position. Matt Elliott 7th. Max Coates is next up. But this is good stuff from Alex Toth-Jones.
Yeah, Alex has been consistently, I think, the top real world racer, and obviously that's been reflected in the championship points. He's certainly doing a solid job, and yeah, he's not been dropped by those 2 top sim races either.
No, he hasn't.
Yeah, a bit of a gap there, but certainly not being embarrassed by them.
No, indeed. Looking for a second podium of the season. His first podium was in the reverse grid race, I think reverse grid race 2, race 4 of the meeting at Donington Park. So good to see him back on form this weekend. And they'll be pleased to put a podium slot together from fastest at the front as we go dual screen and we look at Theo Bridgeman coming into a little bit of pressure from James Merrill's having a little nibble away there. So good battle between those drivers. In the mix as well is Kia McConomy, the third of those cars. The green car is left of shot. We focus on Alex Toth-Jones again, coming through in 3rd place. Quick check on fastest lap, still with Dave Marshall. This is going to be maximum points. I said that, you know, at some point he may well start to do the maths and think about what's safe, but he just wanted to go through. He knew he had the opportunity to have forced MacIntyre into running a little bit wide.
Yeah, and he's now stamping his authority on that lead, isn't he? And just being able to put a little bit of a gap to Jack MacIntyre, who really did put on a sterling effort in those first 3 quarters of the race, but just came under a little bit too much pressure, I think, towards the end. Great race going on here between Max Coates and Josh Martin. Josh Martin, our Cooper class driver this year, new to the championships, looking pretty strong actually as one of the real world racers here. I'm quite impressed with his driving, really putting some pressure on Max Coates, obviously a much more experienced driver.
Yeah, Josh is the second in the real world standings coming into this one, and has been mighty impressive with, I think, only 1 finish outside the top 10 so far, which was at Donington Park, but extremely consistent, regular front runner, and it's not going to be too long before we see Josh getting a maiden podium here. And as you say, just coming under a bit of pressure at the moment from Josh Hislop, who's still in 10th place. So we're looking at the guys that are going to start off the front in the next race, because we've only got 25 seconds plus the 1 lap to go. And Josh Martin wants to relieve Max Coates of some points. Those two fairly close together in the championship. Josh on 280, Max Coates on 236. So just going to be taking a handful of points away from each other at the moment.
Although, of course, if he stays in the position he's in, he gets a nice front row position, doesn't he, alongside Hislop, Josh Hislop. Whereas if he does pass Max, he'll be on the second row, and obviously still a good position for the reverse grid race, but perhaps just that little bit more dangerous to be in the middle rather than right at the front.
Yeah, definitely. As the bun fight going down into Cops will have a say on it. Clock's run out, so we are going to be onto the last lap for the race leader Dave Marshall. There he is, left of shot, 66 car. Lost his 100% record in terms of qualifying, but in terms of race 1 wins, this is going to be another one. Fastest off the front, he's taken all of the race wins so far, so looking for a 5th win of the series, and looking good as he comes across the line now, with the gap back to Jack MacIntyre in 2nd place. Alex Toth-Jones still in 3rd. Jordan Brennan running 4th here. Jordan Brennan, this is going to be another best for him, because his previous best was 5th place off the fastest off the front race 4 at Donington Park. So Jordan Brennan, haven't seen a huge amount of him in this race, but again holding up well and continually improving. So the Newsham Nutters going to be cheering him on.
Yeah, I can see on Facebook some comments about Jordan, and there's a suggestion that really he ought to be getting in the real world seat and having a go on in the real world racing, which would be great to see.
Yeah, it would be good. There's going to be pressure on Mick and the lads to do that now, isn't there?
Yeah, I think you could be right.
So Josh Martin still involved in that super battle that we've got in the right-hand pane, coming under pressure from Josh Hislop, and immediately ahead of them, Josh Martin, Max Coates, Ryan Elliott in the mix as well. The checkered flag has gone out though, and it's Dave Marshall that takes win number 5 of the championship. Our congratulations to him. 2nd position, Jack MacIntyre. Alex Toth-Jones gets a 2nd podium of the season. Then it was Jordan Brennan in 4th place. Tobin Lee in 5th. Rob Butler in 6th place from Ryan Elliott, 7th, then Max Coates, followed by Josh Martin and Josh Hislop completing the top 10 ahead of Callum Newsham. We need to think about driver of the race for this one, and I was erring towards and building up to it, commentary-wise, maybe Jordan Brennan getting another best result in 4th place.
Yeah, I think that's who I would go with as well, to be honest. I think he's a solid result, and obviously continuing to improve race on race, and yeah, I think that's a good shout.
Our driver of the race, the 4th place car. It's always a bit of a cop-out for me sometimes saying it's the driver who is the first one not on the podium, but I'm going to jot our points down with Dave Marshall extending. No mathematician needed to tell us that Dave Marshall is still the championship leader after that one. So with Jack MacIntyre in 2nd place, Alex Toth-Jones in 3rd place. So let's go down into our virtual Parc Ferme and say a good afternoon and congratulations to our race winner and still the championship leader, Dave Marshall. Well done, Dave.
Yeah, I was fair about that, if I'm honest. That was about as close as racing gets. Jack held his own. As you can see by the lap times, there was basically nothing between us. We both had a little collision at the very start, which I think probably hindered my front splitter a little bit and meant I was a little bit down on top end speed, but luckily I managed to stay in the toe of Jack for the majority of the race, and had a little sketchy moment halfway through, but luckily took the win.
And do you think it was pressure that made Jack just drift a little bit wide on the exit of Woodcote that time?
If I'm truly honest, there's a little bit of like AstroTurf on the outside of that curb. And we probably don't usually run that far wide, so I think he probably just misjudged it a little bit, ran off the curb, and just wasn't expecting to pull him quite as far into the gravel. So I don't think it was pressure, just probably didn't expect the track to do that, to be fair.
Were you disappointed to lose your 100% record in qualifying?
Oh, by 2,000. I mean,
it was close, wasn't it?
It was so close, but like Jack's been quick all the way through practice, to be fair to him. I knew it was going to be really tight between us. But to be fair, the rest of the grid, especially on this track, they've been on us all the way. So fair play to all the lads in the series.
Absolutely right. Dave, well done. Many congratulations. We'll see you off 10th on the grid for race 2. Let's have a word with the man who finished in second place in that one, Jack MacIntrye. Good to talk to you again, Jack. Congratulations. Frustrated at losing out there?
Yeah, a little bit. I was thrilled to finally take a pole away from Dave. But a really good race. I can't be disappointed with the second there. I think the few little contacts that we had just unsettled the car a little bit, and I made a couple of mistakes, like you say, through the exit. But yeah, still happy. Second place is second place. Still another 3 races today, so hopefully improve on.
Very good. As you say, you're the man to take away the pole record from Top Gun Marshall, which was a good result. And for a moment, I wondered if it was the kiss of death for me in the commentary, because I was saying, this is a follow-on from Brands because you won race 4 of Brands Hatch. It looked like you were going to go for the double, but it wasn't to be. But a good race nonetheless. You soaked up a lot of pressure for a long time before just losing out on lap 17.
Yeah, I think the qualifying was really good. It was the very last lap of the session that I managed to just pip Dave. So yeah, chuffed with that. And then the pressure all race was really tough. It was probably just me not adapting to the tyres and the pressure. But yeah, still really happy. Really well drove by Dave. And some really good fair race.
Nice one. Well done, Jack. We'll have a word with you a little bit later on and go to the man who finished in 3rd position, but class winner significantly, which is for the real world racing drivers, and that is Alex Toth-Jones. Great to talk to you again, Alex. Well done.
Yeah, it's nice to be back. Brands wasn't ideal for me, but yeah, seemed to be a bit more comfortable round here today. Those 2 boys disappeared in front. I thought I might catch up the remains when they started battling, but no, their pace is insane. So for me, it was quite a lonely race, just looking after that front left tyre, because it does take a hammering round here, and then just kind of gauging the gap to the guys behind. But yeah, it turned out all right.
Superb, very well done. And any thoughts as we look forward to race 2?
I think the reverse grid makes it obviously a little bit tougher. Starting in that mid-pack, anything can happen. I think just get through the first lap and then aim for the podium again. But as we found out with this championship, it's all about points. Points mean prizes at the end of the day. So I need to collect as many as I can after Brands Hatch.
You're certainly clawing them in on Mac's coach today, so you've got a good few positions between yourself and Max. So just wanted to ask, actually, what's the ritual or routine, if there is one, between race 1 and race 2? Because there's not much of a turnaround time. Do you get to have a drink or just change anything?
With the car, it's quite fixed. I'm quite happy with where it is. Maybe tweak the fuel load a little bit, but yeah, I've got everything next to me. Got a banana, some cereal, got a drink. It's comfy. Love it.
Love it. And we're very grateful to MSL Motorsport Consultancy for their big input into this championship as well. So please pass on our regards and thanks to them.
Alex, it's Anthony here. Just a quick question for you, for Richard. Let me just have a quick word with you about something. You mentioned about the tyre degradation on the left hand front tyre. How realistic is that in comparison to your real world racing experiences around this circuit?
It is quite comparable. I mean, obviously last year we were around the GP, which had obviously a little bit more equal number of lefts and rights. But it is impressive how this simulator does, generate the tyre degradation. It is only marginal, but when the grid is so tight and compact, a tenth of a second can mean the world of difference. So looking after that front tyre in the early phases of the race can turn out to be crucial.
No, that's good to get that insight into how it works.
No problem.
Thanks for that, Anthony, and thanks to our 3 podium runners there. Alex Toth-Jones, we just heard from, Jack MacIntrye, pole position man, but picked into second position by race winner Dave Marshall, who continues to lead the championship. I can't remember if I said it in the interview or not, but I've got a feeling that Jack MacIntrye may well have snuck into second position points-wise there. It is very difficult to juggle points and work them out as we go through, but I think with Josh Hislop finishing down in 10th place, that would have given him 25 points. Jack Mac had 44. So I think Jack MacIntrye up into second position overall now in the championship. But we now, of course, move on to our second race, which is the top 10 reverse. And as we saw through the course of the closing stages, we're very much focused on who's going to be doing what, Josh Hislop and Josh Martin. So on the front row of the grid, lights are on already. Out go the lights, and we are official mini challenge eSeries racing with Virtual Reality Racing Club. It's a super start. We said you'd have to be brave to bet against Josh Hislop. NHS proudly emblazoned on the side of the car. We are in this series racing money for the NHS. And it's Josh Martin in second place. Oh, and did Martin go wide there? Yes, he did. Martin spears off. And it is Josh Hislop who leads this run with Max Coates in second place, but coming under pressure from Rob Butler. Tobin Lee is next up. Then Jordan Brennan, our driver of the race in race number 1. But super start by Josh Hislop here, making the most of that reverse grid, Anthony.
Very much so, yeah, really great start for him. And nice little gap already because the other guys behind him were all battling away.
Yeah, this is what you need to do. Get your head down, start to get away. We'll focus, of course, on Jack MacIntyre and Dave Marshall. Marshall's performance in the reverse grid races has been that he'll make 1 or 2 places up. In the first weekend we had at Brands Hatch, he was, in fact, lost places in the opening, in the second races, the reverse grid races, but he still scored well and, of course, emerged as the championship leader after Brands Hatch, which he's held since. And it could be a similar pattern here, but he's going to have to be mindful of the new second place man in the championship, Jack MacIntyre, who is 1 place ahead of him at the moment. Many of the other drivers, of course, that were outside the top 10, like Lewis Brown, are going to be keen to get into the top 10 here and grab some points if they can. Ethan Hammerton trying to have a little nibble up the inside line, our featured driver from race number 1. This race, of course, we switch our attention to Scott Jeffs. And hopefully, we had a chat with Ethan after qualifying, but we'll have a word with Scott before we go to our break after we've done the podium interviews. But there is Ethan Hammerton in the 22nd on track at the moment and about to have a little go at Will Fairclough if he can try and nip past. 7 tenths the gap at the moment. Hislop to Coates. Ryan Elliott in 3rd, so Ryan on and chasing hard for a 3rd podium of the season, maybe a little bit higher up. Lewis Brown running well in the 39 car. Jack MacIntyre making progress as well. MacIntyre and Dave Marshall looking to work their way through the pack as well as they head again down towards the Wellington Straight. Number 90 car, Scott Jeffs, our focused driver, featured driver for this one. And Scott at the moment down in 24th place, trying to close down on Theo Bridgeman, the ex-BRSEC Fiesta driver. I think down behind them at the moment is Rue Clark, chasing them in yellow as well. And Scott Elliott now up into 2nd position. Max Coates down to 3rd. So Ryan Elliott, sorry, is up into P2. So nice move by Ryan Elliott, then up into P2. Max Coates down into 3rd place. And now has Elliott got the pace here to close down on Josh Hislop out front? We'll have to keep an eye on the lap times. Fastest man on track at the moment, as he was in the early stages of race 1, is Jordan Brennan. So Brennan setting the pace again and running well in 4th place, but it's Hislop, 1.1 seconds to good over Ryan Elliott. It'll be interesting to see now Ryan gets a clear lap ahead of Max Coates, whether he can close in. And a brief focus there on James MacIntyre. Max Bird just in front of him as well, and it looks like Bird's managing to get a position here, which he does down the inside line. Bird passing Simon Reed. The 47 car is that of James MacIntyre. So plenty of very good racing going on down the order. And there is Tobin Lee, 6th position at the moment, chasing Dave Marshall. So Marshall here, actually one of the strongest showings we've seen from Dave Marshall, isn't it, in the reverse grid race, up into 5th, 10th on the grid.
Yeah, normally Dave tends to, on these reverse grids, just sort of gradually pick away and perhaps end up somewhere pretty close to the front by the end of the race. But actually this time we're only 4.5 minutes in, and he's already up to 5th place and pressuring for 4th. So I think this is a good example of a reverse grid race for Dave Marshall.
I wonder if that's partially mindset, Anthony, because we were talking to him last time out and we were saying, how aware were you of the points at Brands Hatch? He knew exactly how many points he'd scored, so it might be now that he feels in his mind that he's got a decent enough lead, he can make a few more moves, bag a few more points, and if he doesn't feel the pressure, maybe that's the strategy. As we watch Matt Richards coming under a little bit of pressure. 246 Damien Hall involved in the mix there as well. Luke Kidsley right behind as well. Unusual to see Matt Richards that far back, I must admit. He's been up with a 6 in the championship coming into the meeting. Podium finish, a 2nd position in the 2nd reverse grid race at Brands Hatch. But again, underlining just how mixed up all of the results get in this championship. Hislop 1.1. The gap's come down. Ryan Elliott has taken just over a 1/10 of a second out of Josh Hislop's lead on a couple of clear laps now that he's dealt with Max Coates in 3rd position. So Ryan Elliott, the driver we had the interview with, how poignant would it be if our featured video driver managed to grab a win? He's got some work to do. The gap now comes down to less than a second, 1st to 2nd position.
Yeah, and I think he's dragging Max with him as well. So Max is, clearly, as you can see on the screen there, he's really right up there with Ryan Elliott. I wonder if they might just be holding each other up a little bit, actually, and if they perhaps just focus on the guys ahead, or Josh ahead, that they might be able to catch up with him a little bit more easily, because that gap, although it is coming down, it's coming down extremely slowly.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Real world racing, you'd be able to see the driver behind in your mirror sort of pointing ahead, and I'm frantically waving my arm, which nobody can see, to show you what I mean. So that's pretty useless. We do that in the commentary box all the time, to be perfectly honest. I always get told off for pointing at the screen. Nobody can see what I'm pointing at, but we do it anyway, such as the passion for the racing as Max Coates looks for that 2nd position, side by side as they go through Maggots. And it's Coates on the inside line, but Ryan Elliott knows that if he can hold on to the outside, he'll grab the inside line down into Brooklands along the Wellington Straight. They're side by side. This is for 2nd place, and exactly as you called it, Anthony. They're slowing each other up. They're allowing Josh Hislop to get away. The gap, last time we looked at it, was just over a second from 9:10. So Hislop here probably metaphorically rubbing his hands together. Jack MacIntrye with the fastest lap at the moment. Good stuff from Ryan Elliott. We saw him do some great defensive driving at Brands Hatch, and this is very good strategic driving here, good attacking driving to maintain 2nd position ahead of Max Coates. Those two are in a good race.
Fantastic race between the two of them, but they've really got to watch out, because Dave Marshall now is also just starting to edge back up to the rear bumper of Max Coates over the next lap or two, and the gap's already come down by about 3 or 4 tenths. So before we know it, it's going to be the 3 of them battling for that 2nd place.
Absolutely right. This is progress, isn't it? Not that Dave Marshall needs progress, but if he can get a win in the opening race and a podium in the reverse grid race, that is going to be an awesome result for the machine. There is Coatesy, though, having a very good look, a real good nibble at the back end of Ryan's car. So we've almost got a 6-car train battling over 2nd place as Coates goes to the inside line again. Is he going to be able to get the position? Well, it's the outside as they come into Brooklands. But if he can brave it out here, Coates will have the inside line for Luffield. Can't quite do it. Again, very well read indeed by Ryan Elliott for 2nd position. But as you say, Dave Marshall is right in the mix now and on for a podium to back up the win in race number 1. Once he gets up into the podium positions, his focus will be on trying to close down on Josh Hislop, the race leader. Right of shot, we're looking at Scott Jeffs, the other NHS livery car featured driver in this one, having a good race at the moment, and Jeffs is trying to have a quick look at his lap times from can't spot, so we'll go back to the main screen, and Coates still involved, but has lost out, and there's contact there between Dave Marshall, I think that was, and Tobin Lee in the mix as well. This takes the pressure off the 2nd place battle between Ryan Elliott and Max Coates, and it is Tobin Lee that gets up ahead of Dave Marshall. Now, will Marshall back on? He doesn't need to be battling up for podium positions, but very clearly felt that he was capable of getting one, but almost now taking a little bit of a breather. We've got Jordan Brennan in the 98 behind them. Alex Toth-Jones still running strongly. He's in 8th place. Isaac Smith, 9. Matt Richards in 10th place. Lewis Brown, 11th. Rob Butler, 12th. Drops out of the top 10. Tom Williams, 11th. Then it is James MacIntyre, followed by Max Bird and Will Fairclough. So are we going to see the 66 car make a move again? Elliott and Coates free to resume their battle. It's going to be fascinating to talk to those guys if they stay on the podium, just to see whether they had thought about maybe working with each other to try and get away from Dave Marshall. But Tobin Lee, the benefactor there, up into 4th place. And this again, the reverse grid race, which seems to have in his head that he likes. Having made a lot of progress in race number 1 and having to do a similar thing here to approach the half distance of this one.
Josh Hislop must be thanking his lucky stars that all the guys behind, obviously that little battle has cost them nearly 2 seconds compared to Josh. He's now nearly 3 seconds ahead, which is obviously, in our mini challenge, eSeries is a pretty strong lead. We don't often see that.
No, absolutely right. And Hislop looking to, this is history repeating itself again, because Donington Park, Hislop won race 2, the reverse grid race, did the same at Brands Hatch last weekend. So we're seeing Marshall Hislop, perhaps Marshall, in race 3, we don't know yet, but a similar pattern coming through from our rounds. And if you were to look at that on paper, you think, well, that's a bit predictable, but the racing has been anything but predictable on track, which is super to see as coach goes. So here's the leader. Look at the lead that he's got. This is a Dave Marshall type lead, but look at the train queuing up now to second position. And Ryan Elliott is there at the moment, commanding and controlling that second position just now, with Max Coates over the back of him. Tobin Lee will want to get up in the mix as well. So it's real world racer Josh Hislop out front. Ryan Elliott, sim racer, but keen to get into the real world, as you heard in the interview. I think that might get another outing during the break if you were late joining us, about his aspirations to join Mini Challenge for next year. Maybe some outings this year if you can get it together. It'd be a very good addition to the grid for this year if he can make it, and also a very good young driver to have on your books if you're looking at getting involved in marketing. But look at Dave Marshall at the back. There's Ryan Elliott, the Fanatec livery on the side of the car. Max Coates just can't quite get on terms with him at the moment. But remember the pattern from race 1. Dave Marshall chipped away at Jack Mack, the silent assassin, and eventually there was that little run wide. Marshall came through to do it. So that's what you've got to do. Dogged determination. That's what Max Coates is capable of. That's what he's going to try and do here on Ryan Elliott in the number 2 car to try and go through. Josh Hislop now 3.2 seconds clear. Looking good. Who's got the fastest lap? Jack McIntyre bagging the extra 6 points at the moment for fastest lap. And he is in this group of cars. I tell you what, any of these cars could nab 2nd and 3rd places.
Yeah, and after that bit of a mauling earlier on, Dave Marshall obviously dropped back from his, what I think was almost certainly going to become a podium position, and possibly even up into 2nd. Now, obviously, he dropped back a little bit, but he's catching back up again and is now into 5th. So certainly not over for Dave Marshall. Plenty of time left for him to make some more progress.
He's still there, and psychologically, Anthony, of course, he's ahead of Jack McIntyre, who's his main challenger at the moment, championship-wise, being 2nd in the mix. But Tobin Lee having a good run. We ride on board with Tobin. This is the 4th place car, chasing the 2 podium runners at the moment through Maggot's left-hander, then round into Beckett's. That's where our 2nd commentary box is in the real world, just on the inside there. It's quite a nice facility. Normally, whoever's in the 2nd commentary box there has to jump in their car and dive back to pit lane to do the podium interviews, because the main circuit commentary position's on the outside, so they can't run down from there and do it. A little bit of commentary trivia for you there. If you've ever been to Brands Hatch, you'll know that, as Max Coates challenges hard again for 2nd position. Looks to the outside line to try and tee up the inside line into this corner here on Ryan Elliott, but it doesn't work for him. And Elliott, again, as we saw at Brands Hatch, driving a super race here in P2. Again, a look in the mirrors, you can see Dave Marshall in the mirror graphic, busy chasing he's the championship leader, putting the pressure on. And down behind him, Jack McIntyre. Can't quite see McIntyre in the rear view at the minute, but very much Dave Marshall is there and ready to pounce if there is the slightest mistake from Tobin Lee, who's trying to get himself up on the podium. And now Dave Marshall looks like he's starting to build a little bit of a run.
Yeah, then you wouldn't want to put money on any of these. Who knows which one's going to end up on that 2nd and 3rd podium positions. Could be any of them.
Yeah, I agree with that entirely, and that's just like mini challenge, isn't it? This is what we get in the real world, whether it's Cooper Pro, Cooper S-Class, or indeed the JCWs. This is what the racing is designed to do. It's designed to entertain. It will reward the fastest drivers in qualifying, giving them the run off the front, as Marshall has a look down the inside line of Tobin Lee. Can he hang on to that? Just out of shot at the moment. Can he go through? Ryan Elliott's still there. Lee's holding on to it. I think he had track position there to carry the momentum out of Luffield into Woodcote, which is where they are now. They'll tick off another lap. 3.6 seconds now the gap for Josh Hislop.
And again, this battle, Richard, is backing these 2 guys into the 7 or so behind them. So anyone really down to 9th place could quite easily take one of these podium positions.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's Isaac Smith in 9th place. We could see Isaac get into the mix. As we had a brief look there, left to shot with Scott Jeffs, the 22-year-old from Stratford-upon-Avon. Hopefully have a little chat with Scott at some point. He's running down in 25th place at the moment, chasing Keir McConomy in the Challenge Regular. As Coatsy carries on, you see Keir McConomy in the left-hand pane in the green car immediately ahead of Scott. So Scott got a little bit of work to do, try and catch him up before he can have a nibble and maybe pass for position. But also, Scott's got a little bit of pressure on from Simon Reed in the 35 car immediately behind him, so he's going to be mindful of that. And talking of being mindful, all of these podium runners are going to be mindful as well. Headed by Ryan Elliott, still maintaining second position, as he has done much of the race. Jack MacIntyre still the man with the fastest lap. We look back from the second place car. Watch now, Max Coates in the 71 machine closes up under braking. That is just such a great simulation of real-world racing that we're seeing there. Coates has got to be mindful of Tobin Lee right behind him as well. So it's Hislop leader, Elliott second, Coates third, Lead fourth, championship leader Marshall fifth, then Jack MacIntyre, Jordan Brennan again strong in seventh place, Alex Toth-Jones eighth, Isaac Smith ninth, Matt Richards in 10th position. And the main points scoring positions at the moment in the second race of the weekend with 3 minutes left on the clock. Is the status quo going to be maintained here, or are we going to see some fireworks in the closing stages? It looks like Ryan's starting to try and move a little bit further clear as we see Jordan Brennan towards the back of this group in the Liquid Moly Norscott vending machine, busy chasing hard. I'm not going to ask you to put your money anywhere, Anthony, other than to say I think we're in for a five-race
I don't want to encourage any shenanigans, but they're so close that anything can happen here, and it does feel like it's just simmering away and coming to a boil, and that at any minute we could be seeing some changes of position.
See what you did there,
who knows what happens then.
Simmering, I like that. A simulated simmering. Love it.
Great camera angle there. Oh, here we go. Yeah. This could be the boiling up.
Yeah, Dave Marshall's got the outside line of Tobin Lee. Tobin in the pinky purple car. Dave Marshall in the blue and white goes round the outside line. Jack Max coming up in the mix as well. This is freeing up Ryan Elliott to try and break free of Max Coates, who's under big pressure. Tobin Lee under pressure from Dave Marshall. I thought Max might have broken the toe a little bit more. And Jack MacIntyre's done it around the outside line. Having cleared Marshall, has now got the inside line to get back at Tobin Lee on the inside. Gives a little knock, did he, on the back there of Max Coates. Nothing sinister in that. Tobin Lee holding on the outside line in the 55 car. And here comes Jack MacIntyre up the inside line. The silent assassin was behind Marshall previously, and now we've got Jordan Brennan up ahead of Dave Marshall as well. Marshall, I think, maybe erring on the side of caution and thinking about getting finishes, and who can blame him? The machine clearly doing the calculations. Be an enigma machine, wouldn't it, to do that sort of calculation, I'm guessing, as they come out of Cops and head down to Maggots where they are now. Ryan Elliott looking very good in second position. He's kept his cool. He's earned this. No mistake about that in P2 at the moment. There is Tobin Lee, who has fought off Jack MacIntyre. And now we've got Marshall coming back in the mix, inside line of Jordan Brennan to reclaim sixth place. Alex Toth-Jones is in the mix again. He's in 8th position. Do not discount Alex, because he's there in the 11th car at the back of the group at the moment. Just half a car's length down on them is Isaac Smith in 9th place. And then Matt Richards running in 10th. Now let's have a look. Jordan Brennan back in front of the championship leader, and he's going to take a lot of confidence from having passed and then been repassed and overtaken again. The championship leader as Coates run wide, and it is Tobin Lee looking up the inside line. Tobin here surely is on the right line to get up into a podium position to go across the line. It's still Max Coates there, but Tobin now gets his nose in front. Max Coates down to 4th. With Jordan Brennan looking round the outside line here. Jordan was driver of the race for race number 1. It's the 37 car in the mix there as well. Jack MacIntyre trying to deal with Max Coates as well. Brennan tucking himself on the inside line. Thinks to follow Coates through and maybe make the position on Jack MacIntyre, but going very, very tight on the corner there. I don't think that did him any big favours. He's away from the line. Marshall's going to have a look up the inside line of him as well. But we focus as they come down into Brooklands on Jack MacIntyre in the 37 car. It's Tobin Lee in 3rd now. Max Coates wants to try and get back in. And Dave Marshall has a big sideways moment, momentarily entering the drifting championship.
Yeah, there was just not quite held it together there, and he's lost a couple of places, which certainly, it's not going to help his points, but of course he has got a healthy lead at the moment, so it won't be too much of an issue. But I don't think it's all over yet. I think there can still be a lot more action.
Now, this is bringing Isaac Smith well and truly into this group with Alex Toth-Jones at the back of it. Tobin Lee at the front of the group. And remember, 3.5 seconds to the good is Josh Hislop, who's driven superbly as we watch Jordan Brennan round the outside line again, working hard. Let's see whether Brennan can hang on to it side by side. Working hard too is Alex Toth-Jones, who gets the MSL car through. Great driving from Toth-Jones, and he's followed through by Jack MacIntrye in the 37. They're swapping places like nobody's business, all racing cleanly and fairly at the moment. The clock has run down, so we've got one more lap before Josh Hislop will be hoping and praying that he could hang on to this one. There's no reason to suppose he's going to lose the lead. Ryan Elliott in second. He's 1.7 seconds now clear of Tobin Lee, as again it gets physical with Jack Mack and Alex Toth-Jones going side by side. A little bit of door handling between the two. Jordan Brennan in front of them at the moment, and superb racing for the pair of them as onto the final lap goes Josh Hislop through shot. Hislop the leader, Ryan Elliott in second, Tobin Lee in third. Tobin's got clear air, but hasn't been able to do anything about the second place man Ryan Elliott at the moment. It's Jack Mack still with the fastest lap, so the potential to have those 6 points. Oates goes through shot. There's Jack Mack. Jordan Brennan still engaged with a super battle with Alex Toth-Jones, podium finisher in race number 1, and Dave Marshall right in behind them as well. Marshall 8, still progress on his 10th place start. Isaac Smith in the mix as well, and this is good to see Isaac Smith up with his front group. It's going to build his confidence, and he's going to be a man to watch for future races for sure in 1, 2, 3.
He's certainly shown some flashes of great pace, and it'd be good to see him, as you say, getting that result. That simmer turned into a boil, and then I think it ended up being a pressure cooker, and probably the lid blew off. It's been a great last few laps, hasn't it?
Superb analogy from Anthony Williams there, a man who really knows his racing and gives us great product on track, as the race win goes to Josh Hislop. 3rd win of the year, the 3rd time he's done it in the first reverse grid race of the weekend. Ryan Elliott, another podium, 3 meetings, 3 podiums for Ryan Elliott. Then Tobin Lee, another podium for Tobin. 4th position Max Coates. Jack MacIntyre 5th. I'll check the timing screen, 5th and fastest lap. Jordan Brennan in 6th place. Our thoughts immediately turn on the slowing down lap to driver of the race. I'll ask you, Anthony, before I throw my 2 pennant in. Who do you think?
Well, I mean, I think the way he controlled the race and just got on with it, you've got to say that Josh Hislop was someone I think I'd certainly be considering for it. So I think I'd probably have to give it to him, even though he's in the winning position.
Yeah, I would agree with that. He got his head down, and the other, I think, mentioned in dispatches maybe for Ryan Elliott, who soaked up an awful lot of pressure again, as we saw at France. But let's go with the winner. I think Josh Hislop, showing that he did an absolutely superb job. So he's our driver of the race. Of course, if you disagree with us, who can blame you? Let us know on social media who you think is your driver of the day as the car's coming to Part Fairmate.
Yeah, do keep those comments coming on our social media channels, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. I'm monitoring our YouTube and Facebook channel, so yeah, get in touch with me there and I'll try and answer your questions as they come up through the rest of our coverage today.
Let's grab a quick word with our race winner. Many congratulations. We're making a habit of this in race 2. Congratulations, Josh Hislop. Fairly uneventful for you. Fastest off the front, 10th position race 1, and you built a handy lead and just kept your head down.
Yeah, I got a great start, obviously, and then from there I was able to just manage the pace nicely. Obviously, it helped that everybody else was fighting behind.
Certainly did, and I think a similar pattern wound up for Ryan Elliott for 2nd position in the closing stages. But Josh, making a habit of these reverse grid race wins, and what can you do maybe to get the pace to take out the likes of Dave Marshall, Jack MacIntyre in qualifying? I mean, you were up there and not too far away, to be fair. But is there anything you can do? You're the top real world driver still in the standings.
I think, yeah, obviously I've got a bit of pace to find in qualifying. Didn't get a great lap in this time, but yeah, obviously I'll just keep working away at it, and hopefully I can close that gap as the season.
Well, nice one. Congratulations. Did Anthony want to ask anything?
No, that's okay, Richard. I think I'll leave you to carry on to our next driver.
Okay, thanks very much for that, and well done to Josh Hislop, our race 2 winner here at Silverstone National. 2nd position, 3rd podium of the year. Congratulations, and hello again, Ryan Elliott.
Hi, Richard. How's it going?
Yeah, very good. Thanks, Ryan. We showed your interview before the start of the program, which was great to see. So we've got a handle on where you want to be racing. But you were one of our contenders for driver of the race in that one, again, as you did at Brands Hatch, really showing some superb defence, and you soaked up a lot of pressure from Max in the early stages, and then Max got his handful of Tobin, and that really relaxed the pressure from you. Is that how you saw the race?
I mean, you summed it up pretty well there. I think initially I felt I had the pace to catch Josh, but we were only about a second behind. I thought I might have been able to close it up, but Max just kept attacking. So I knew from that point it was just going to be a battle of defending. But I think especially a lot of my time kartings sort of helped me with my defensive driving. I mean, like here, same again at Brands, and when I got my podium, just no one could get past me. I'm just a brick wall.
Would you, go and talk to Max or other drivers, or message them and say, look, rather than battle for position, can we keep a check on, Josh Hislop, Dave Marshall, Jack MacIntrye, whoever's in front? Can we work together and then catch them and then sort it out?
I mean, as much as that'd be ideal, of everyone's running their own race now, I wouldn't expect anyone to sacrifice a position for it. But maybe it's up to them if they want to think about going for that lead. I had it in my mindset. Maybe some of the other drivers didn't, but it's racing. We can just look forward to the next one.
Well, nice one. Congratulations. Great to see you on P2 again. Thanks for having a chat with us. Good luck for the remaining races today. And let's go to our third place driver. Welcome back to the podium, Tobin Lee. Tobin, a hard race to come through. You were talking to us at Brand saying you weren't a fan of the reverse grid races, but that's effectively what you gave yourself in race one. You came through the order and you did it here again and came up to a podium. So well done, and tell us about it from your perspective.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I thought that was such a tough race. I mean, there was so little in it. And to be honest, it was kind of like a roulette in my position to see who could get that lucky breakaway with all of the really hard-fought battles that were going on just behind the two guys that were up ahead. So I thought, I've said that I wanted to work on my reverse grids and my car placement and deciding which moves are worth going for and which are just not. And I think that, I've managed to keep my car alive once again and actually get a podium. So yeah, it was a really good race and I was pretty pleased with that.
Nice one, and it's very, very close, isn't it, between the likes of Josh Hislop, Jack MacIntyre and yourself, and Josh Martin, I think, prior to that race as well, at the top end of the championship.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I just think it's going to come down to who can not have those races where you end up like miles away, because it's so close. You can't, I don't think across the entire season you can expect to, guaranteed be faster than everyone that's nearby when the gaps are so small, if that makes sense. So I think it's just these consistency races in like the reverse grids and everything that are going to really matter. So I was really pleased.
Spot on. Nice race, mate. Many congratulations, and thanks very much to you and indeed all the drivers on some great entertainment in that race.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks Toby. I don't know if we're going to grab a word with Scott Jeffs. He was our featured driver in that race. We normally try and catch up with our featured drivers. Do we know if Scott is there? Scott, are you with us at all?
Yeah, I don't think he is, unfortunately, Richard.
Okay, that's a little bit of a shame, but two super races to get us underway here, and some other bits and bobs obviously for you to have a look at over the course of a short break, which we're going to get to refuel with water and energy bars or whatever it is that we avail ourselves with. But before we do depart for the break, Anthony, good couple of opening races again.
Oh, wow. I mean, fantastic. The reverse grid race was certainly very exciting indeed. I think we might have a nickname for Josh Elliott, The Wall. So perhaps that might be a nickname that might grow. He seemed to think he was obviously driving that defensive race and managed to block out the challenges from behind, which of course he did. So yeah, perhaps The Wall might be the new nickname for him.
Yeah, good stuff. He was really good in that. We've seen some super defensive driving from him, and another good podium, good points. Well, we're gonna go into break. Anthony, thanks ever so much for your company and help as ever. Sorry if I'm talking over you too much.
Not at all.
People are
great job, Richard. You're doing.
Thank you very much, mate. Really appreciate that. And thanks to our drivers and all the tech team doing a super job. What we're going to do, we're going to go on to a little bit of a break, grab a bite to eat, and in the meantime, we're going to give you a chance to see the interview I did earlier in the week with the man who was second in that race. So we just heard from him. We're going to hear from him again, a little bit more considered. So interview with Ryan Elliott. We'll be back for qualifying 2 in around about 15 minutes. So please stay with us, enjoy the interviews, and enjoy your break. We'll catch you soon.
Hello and a very warm welcome to the first of a series of interviews that we're going to do with some of the stars of the Mini Challenge eSeries. And a great pleasure to welcome Ryan Elliott into the studio today, the virtual studio that is. Everything's virtual, isn't it, about this race series? The studio, the commentary, the racing, the whole thing. Ryan, really good to see you and thanks for joining us this morning on this. And what a fantastic start you've made. We've had 2 events so far. And you've had 2 podia, and I think the last event at Brands Hatch really showed consistency because you were hardly out of the top 10. What does it feel like to do that? And are you happy with the progress you're making so far?
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to be here with you today. Obviously, opportunities like this don't come very often for people like me, so it's an absolute pleasure. So far, we've had a bit of a rough start to the season. I was expecting a lot more. Maybe considering some past results, especially in sim stuff, some of the people who I'm even racing against in this series who I've beaten in the past. But like I said, at this point, I'm just trying to keep the consistency up because obviously there's four races each meeting. It's a really, really long season, and half of the series is that top 10 reverse grid. So my aim sort of been to have race 1 between positions 7 and 10, so I can get a good reverse grid draw, which in 2 instances worked out well for me, having podiums, being able to get to that top end of the grid just through the reverse grid. But like I say, that's half the season. So it might mean that the people who finish high in race 1, like for instance Dave Marshall, who seems to be doing an amazing job so far, he hasn't been able to maybe have some of the results in the second race, which is where I'm trying to capitalise. I'm sort of doing the opposite of everyone else.
Certainly your pace has been there, and as I say, at some point over the season, even Dave Marshall is going to have a bad meeting, but Brands Hatch, you were really very, very consistent indeed. In terms of the overall championship, 8th position I think at the moment, but 5th on the sim races, and it looks to me, if we were plotting a graph of your results, you're going to go higher up. I don't want to put pressure on you for the remaining races, but it kind of looks that way. I imagine this is a prelude to other things that you want to do. A lot of racers that do sim racing are quite happy with that, but you have ambitions to get out on circuit, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So I mean, I've been karting for probably 7 years this year. Sort of started to take a bit of a step away from it when it came to my studying GCSEs, and now I've gone on to get an actual job, so it's all sort of had to slow down a little bit. But the plan was to be back racing, but this time make the step into cars. I've sort of missed all the junior categories, but then I've come into this mini package doing this eSeries. I've been able to meet new people, like obviously series director Anthony Williams and some of the drivers like Max Coates, even Hammerton, etc. And it's just a really good place for me to prove myself against some of these people that I'd want to be racing in. So the plan would be to race Cooper Pro. I'm looking at buying a car, possibly, maybe making that step up next year. But obviously the pandemic's not helping very much. I mean, it's really unfortunate the situation we're in at the minute, but we just got to push through it. We'll be back racing soon.
Everything certainly is changing. The economy, sport, the whole world, politics, everything changing with pandemic, as you rightly say. One of the things that I don't think will change is the appeal of the mini championship, because you've got, what Anthony has put together. It's a ladder, isn't it? I mean, I was fortunate enough to work on Mini Festival last year and get to see all of the mini paddock, whether it's Cooper Am, Cooper Pro, JCWs, and the other classes that they nurture and run superbly. So you can start off anywhere on that ladder, can't you? And I think next year, if next year's calendar is similar to this year's, if you do make it into Cooper Pro, fingers crossed for you. And if there are sponsors out there having a look, they'd be very silly to pass up an opportunity to work with you, not just as sponsors, but as marketing as well, because you'll give them a great day out at the racetrack and a great experience. But Cooper Pro, it's going to be, I think, part of the touring car package again next year. Certainly it was what's planned this year. So terrific value for them if they get involved.
Yeah, that was one of the major selling points, I think, when we were looking towards this year, but obviously my studying took over again. But it was that idea where they had 2 meetings on the touring car package. Obviously you get TV exposure. The hospitality opportunities are incredible at touring car meetings, and like you say, the mini family is just incredible. It provides a real ladder, like you were saying. It's unlike when I was maybe looking at Clio's before. You sort of have to just jump straight into the Clio Cup. It was quite a big step for someone like myself, but with this, it's sort of like a ladder where I can start maybe in Cooper Am or Cooper Pro, and then work myself up, prove myself into maybe stepping into JCW, which obviously now is the primary feeder of the touring cars, which, like most races, is my absolute dream.
That would be absolutely mega to see you there. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the token package. I hope you can sort it out. So backpedaling a little bit, maybe background. How old are you at the moment?
18 years old.
So you're driving on the road. Have you actually had a go in a race car at all?
Yeah, I've been very fortunate to have a couple of testing opportunities. So I've tested initially we did some Saxo testing, did the scholarship there and did quite well. Then I got a taster in a Fiesta Junior around Donington. That was really good. I really enjoyed that. And then towards just before pandemic hit, at the beginning of March, I was testing Ginetta GT5 around Donington, which was a mega experience. But I feel like I enjoy front wheel drive cars. I want to be more towards touring cars than a GT sort of career. So I'm really looking forward to hopefully when we get back racing, maybe getting some testing in a Cooper before maybe we go out and commit to a season.
Well, thanks very much for that. And just to sum up, give us your thoughts on the mini challenge eSeries before we say cheerio.
It's absolutely mega. I mean, having people like yourself on board to do the commentary is something really uncommon in the sim racing world. The quality of the series, like even when you look at the stewarding, the quality of the streams is just incredible. It's really bringing people like me who maybe are more now sim racers than real racers. We're bringing us back into the limelight a little bit, which is really nice. We're getting some really good attention at the minute.
That's really nice of you to say, and I've got to say I'm mightily impressed with the calibre of drivers we've got. You know, the real racers and the sim racers, absolutely incredible. And my one regret at the moment is that we can't all go in the bar at the end of a meeting. It's that's a real pain in the neck. But hopefully we'll have a get together. I'm sure Max and Anthony and Rich and the team will try and sort something like that out when we get back to some sort of normality. Ryan, I was asked to just do a quick chat with you. Thanks very much for answering my questions and coming online this morning. Good luck for the rest of the series, and we look forward to chatting to you on the podium, I'm sure, at many of the upcoming rounds.
Thank you very much for having me. I hope you enjoy the rest of the racing, guys.
Thanks, Ryan.
Lights go out at the start of the race, it's an absolute fight, dogfight from start to finish.
It's in my blood, it's a passion. I train every day for it. It's just a different feeling, it's where you feel most comfortable.
The nerves actually kick in. It's when you pull up on the grid and they give the 30-second board. But as soon as you get off around that first corner, that's it. The nerves all go, and it's man on the mission then trying to win the race.
I think the one thing about racing that is quite unique from other sports is that feeling that you get. A lot of drivers talk about this zone, or whatever you want to call it, but it's that feeling where everything sort of clicks when you're in the car. Or motorsport finance is key to anyone that wants to progress, and key to anyone who wants to get started. And so I wouldn't be here if it wasn't because of the support that you give sponsorship wise, but I also wouldn't be here if it wasn't because of the support that you give as a company financially wise, and the help that you can give to drivers like myself.
It's all working as a team, and it works out both ways.
In motorsport there's so many variables, and if anything goes wrong, your whole weekend can fall apart. At a high level, for me, it's the dream. And right now, I'm going up against the best Mini Cooper drivers in the UK at the moment.
Minis, it's like a massive family. I know on the track sometimes we get heat in a moment, but deep down I think we're all here for each other.
it's a mountain. When you start that journey in motorsport, it's like Mount Everest, and you want to get to that top, and you want to get to the top of the flagpole on the top of Mount Everest.
Crudo have been a massive help to me. They helped me buy the car, they've helped me with a personal sponsor.
And they can build a package around your needs. If you want to race Kinetic, if you want to race minis, they can build that around you.
It's not just the finance on the race cars, it's the equipment, it's the vehicles, it's the trailers, which is the whole package to getting the actual race car to the circuit.
Crudo come to all of my races. I think they get more nervous than I do sometimes. They're a financial company, but they're more than that, and they're there to get you on that grid and to support you from start to finish. So it's great to have Crudo here for every weekend that we do. But it's what they do. They create that personal connection, like I say, from that first meeting. And whatever it will be, if you are racing, then they'll come and they'll watch and they'll be there through thick and thin.
go the lights, and we are away here at Snetterton. Gordon bounces there. Gordon goes into the back of Harrison, doesn't get this one, and he throws the car in. Harrison wins, Palmer second, Gordon third. Got a car on the grass, several cars off. Vistantinos gets tagged and he's out of the race, and off on the grass. Harrison takes the win. It's going to be Gordon's championship by my mathematics. At a virtual Silverstone National Circuit, Richard John Neal, the commentator, and joined by Mini Challenge Championship Director Anthony Williams. We've managed to grab a quick break. Boy, do we need these breaks, Anthony, with the racing we've had.
Well, we sure do, don't we? I mean, it's just relentless pressure here in the commentary, well, not the commentary box, because of course we're in different places, but it is, yeah, relentless racing, just non-stop action.
And a really good, nothing has disappointed me about this series so far. It's been really great racing. Starting to get characters, you know, the people talk about how realistic the sims are, and the designers do a fantastic job to do that. But the races themselves are replicating it, and we've got, you know, a sort of championship hero in Dave Marshall who's building a lead and is the man to beat, and then we're getting other drivers coming in, putting in surprises, getting consistent, building experiences. The whole thing is literally a replication of a real world racing championship.
It certainly is, absolutely that. And, the style of racing that we're seeing seems to be also really replicating what we see in the real world. You know, clearly first lap action, you know, possibly going into the second lap and then settling down into a little bit more of a cat and mouse exercise during the middle of the race, and then building up to a bit of a crescendo towards the last few laps when obviously all the action tends to happen.
We're looking at one of the featured drivers that is our focus in this race. That's James Merrills in the 88 car, and we are going to catch up with Scott Jeffs, by the way. He was our featured driver in race 2. We're hoping to catch up with him after qualifying. But here's James Merrills, the 23-year-old. Guess what? He's another Yorkshireman. There's a fair few. I haven't done the count actually of how many Yorkshiremen, but there's a fair few. It's a quick county. It's a competitive county, isn't it, Yorkshire?
It certainly seems that way, doesn't it?
Fair few drivers from it. James Merrills raced in Formula Student, which is I think bucks the trend of a lot of universities. I've known little club championships that hand over cars to universities to work on, and they pull them apart and then they never get them back together again. But Formula Student, of course, is the initiative where they do a heck of a lot of development, a heck of a lot of work, but they actually get out and compete in the machines as well. So I really take my hat off to all of those teams that are involved in that. And James very much involved in that as a Formula Student driver. Ran in the British Universities Karting Championship from 2018 to present. And that's a very good championship as well. Some very quick drivers come up through that. And it's amazing how many people you meet around the real life paddocks who say, oh yeah, I'm racing, I know him and I know her. A very small
great
world.
Initiative, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely superb. And James Merrills is, although a real world driver, has got a fair bit of sim racing experience, having sim raced from 2018 in the Pacific Majors Championship. And so has done a fair part of that. He's also raced against Lando Norris, who of course we know from club racing in the UK, coming up through Kinetic Junior and F4, and then obviously onwards into Formula 1. And nice family, the Norrises. The dad Norris is a nice fella as well, and Lando was always up for a chat. And unusually, some drivers actually, when they go up through the ranks, me as the sort of support race commentator on the Toka events, some of the drivers that move up the ladder, they obviously hook up with you in social media while you're commentating on them. Some of them then obviously you kind of lose touch because they move onwards and upwards, and some of them unfriend you. But Lando, bless him, is one of the drivers who moved up the ladder, and we've stayed in touch. So fair play to him. Nice chap. That's a nice thing for him to do. Much appreciated.
No, definitely. It's interesting in this qualifying. I think we're seeing a little bit of a pattern where the sim racers just seem to be able to turn it on immediately. Literally, you know, they come out from the pit lane and bang a lap in. Whereas I think the real world racers perhaps just take that little bit longer to build up the pace. But at the moment we're seeing you know, Butler and Bird both putting in a couple of good lap times, and I think they're within striking distance. And in fact, of course, Max Coates as well, within striking distance of our top 3 sim racers in qualifying at the moment. So it's certainly not all over at this stage.
No, it's not. There's a fair bit to go. As you can see, 13 minutes still on the clock as we watch Scott Jeffs, featured driver from the previous race, in the effectively teammate, of course, Josh Hislop, the NHS livery on the side. And we are raising money, a considerable amount of money being raised for the NHS charities over the course of our 8 weeks. We go up to and including the 11th of July, our finale is at the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. Week before that, we're at Knockhill, Croft the week before that, Snetterton on the 20th of June, 13th of June, which is next week, of course, Silverstone International. So we flick across to the, I'm not sure if it's the northern part of the circuit or the southern part there. I'm not sure of me compass as far as Silverstone's concerned, but it's the other half of the venue anyway, as we look at first look of the day, I think, at Craig Timmins, one of our featured drivers last time, running with predominantly Logitech G29 equipment. And you might remember from the interview last week, if you are a new viewer, thank you very much for joining us and welcome. Please stay with us, spread the news and join us again. Craig Timmins was talking about his racing rig. Some drivers have professional rigs or commercial rigs that you can get, for example, GT Omega, Playseat, SimLab, and some have their own equipment. And Craig Timmins was quite funny actually to interview because he's got a standard office chair with the other equipment kind of bolted onto his desk. And I said, well, doesn't it move about? And he said, no, we've got a thick pile carpet. Great quote from the driver of the 36. But the point is, it just shows how how accessible this sort of racing is. Got some good screens though, 32-inch and 56-inch Samsung screens. For Craig, enjoying himself immensely as we see Tom O'Farrell, another Logitech man. He's got G27 equipment. Game Race Pro rig, 27-inch screen for the man from Scotland. One of our more geographically diverse drivers, comes from the Isle of Islay up in Scotland, where he works and manages holiday homes there, and he's doing a little bit of autograssing at the moment. The other extreme is Damien Hall, who is the policeman from Barbados. So we really have got a strong geographic spread. This isn't just the Yorkshire Championship. We've got many other drivers that come from different places.
We've got Jack MacIntyre on top now.
Yeah,
actually, for our qualifying times at the moment, a healthy gap back to Dave Marshall, just over a tenth of a second. I mean, that's an age in comparison to what we're normally seeing.
It is, isn't it? And Dave Marshall, I think, was a little bit gutted to lose out, but he himself said in his podium interview it was a small margin, literally 0.003 of a second. He lost pole position in qualifying 1, and Jack MacIntyre really proving that he's got the pace. So if he can get away, we've got the same 1 and 2.
Yeah, Dave Marshall's narrowed that gap again though, so now it's only a couple of hundredths.
Yeah, he wants to get these points in the bag in the fastest off the front races for sure. There's Simon Reed. Not seen a lot of Simon. Again, a Logitech-based driver, race from RR3055 rig that he is using. And Simon, 33 years of age, comes from Oxford. I mean, coming very neatly down into Brooklands corner, using a little bit of the... I'm not sure how many penalties we had in the previous race. Didn't see too many drivers dropping down, so I think in terms of jump starts and track limits, all behaving themselves very well. As we dip into the second half of the qualifying, MacIntyre, Marshall, Matt Richards running in 3rd, Tobin Lee 4th. So Tobin almost warming up really to this meeting, getting the podium in race 2. Up the order in this one. Rob Butler looking quick again. Jordan Brennan is in 6th place. I did some very quick mathematics as best I could from the results that I grabbed, and I reckon 2nd position actually is now separated by a point. Jack MacIntyre went into 2nd after race 1, and by my maths, Josh Hislop has gone back into 2nd position by 1 point coming into race 3. It's very close.
Yeah, it certainly is. So we've really just got Dave Marshall with a bit of a stronger lead in the championship standings, but otherwise it's all very close below him.
It is very close indeed. Tobin Lee on... MacIntyre's on 387 in 3rd. 388, Josh. He's got 354, I reckon, Tobin Lee. And Ryan Elliott has definitely made progress, and I think has passed Max Coates. What I didn't get to work out is whether he's passed Josh Martin or Matt Richards in the standings. But at the moment, Richards is slightly the stronger of the two in this one, so we won't know officially until the points come out after the event. Now, again, if you're a first-time viewer with us, the championship points will be posted on social media after the event, and once obviously all the results are looked at and any protests and anything else dealt with. One of my friends, I don't know if you know Phil Cooper, who runs Legends Cars, actually, if you've ever come across Phil or met him, but funnily enough, big tall guy, used to work for Island Records as A&R back in the day. He was Bob Marley's manager, fascinating guy to meet and talk to, but runs the Legends Cars Championship here. And I always remember him saying to me when the dates came out one year, and I'll try not to do the voice, but he kind of sounds like, well, Richard, we have the dates, and the fixtures are provisional until the races are run, and then the results are provisional. Just love that sentiment. I've said that a few times on air. Apologies if someone's heard that for the 1800th time, but it's a great sentiment. But anyway, so the point being that championship points will be published on social media. So good reason to keep up with Mini Challenge and Virtual Reality Racing Club after.
As you said last week, Richard, we just can't keep up with that without having a dedicated points person. And in the real world, we've got the timekeepers that are and organisers that are all there's an army of people doing it. But effectively, with just a small team here, we can't keep up with that.
Absolutely
so quick shout out to our viewers on social media, particularly Lee Davidson, who asked a quick question, which was, are we planning to carry this sim racing on after this inaugural season? And certainly, as I've replied on YouTube, yes, that is the case. We're planning on doing that, and looking probably at having winter series and summer series running for as long as people want to do it. And we're also looking at the possibility of a scholarship system using sim racing as a feeder to it. So really wanting to give people the opportunity to get involved in the mini challenge in as many ways as possible.
That'd be brilliant.
Yeah, it's certainly something that I think has got some legs. We're just considering the options at the moment. There's MacIntyre still managing to keep Dave Marshall at bay. That 200ths gap, just over 200ths gap still there. No one else really making particular inroads into that. Seems to have settled down, but whether it's going to be another last lap dash for a few people just to pop themselves up the order board. Alex Toth-Jones just jumping up a place there, I think, above Max Bird. Still a solid qualifying from Max, down in 9th place, but I'm sure he'd be keen to get a bit further up. I think there was a suggestion that some contact in the last race perhaps, unfortunately, cost Max some places again.
Yeah, he seems to be on the receiving end a little bit, but I'm sure Karma will intervene and get him back up the order at some point. And again, looking outside the top 10 of this, Lewis Brown further down than we would expect to see. I wonder if he's been working in the week instead of weekends.
Well, I was having a bit of a conversation on email with his father, Mike, this week as well, about coming to the Goodyear tyre test on the 9th of July at Snetterton, which will be our first official event before the racing gets started.
Right.
So the tyre test is an opportunity to blow the cobwebs away and test yourself against virtually every other JCW class competitor. And indeed, actually, we decided to take all the other classes to the Snetterton event as well. So we're going to have around about 60 to 65 minis there on the 9th of July. Unfortunately, it's unlikely that the circuit will be open to spectators, or indeed it will be televised. But nevertheless, we'll keep you up to date with how the times are going via TSL and social media.
That's good. As I say, they're not even letting media in at the moment, aren't they? So I don't think I'd even be able to blag away, which is a shame. But it would be a good day to go up. As we watch Jack MacIntyre, he's the provisional pole position man at the moment. So could the fellow we're going to be talking to at the end of this session in just over 5 minutes' time, Dave Marshall second. So we've kind of got this repeat of race one. Matt Richards, though, really coming on song at the moment, and is in 3rd place. Tobin Lee 4th. Jordan Brennan consistent in 6th place. He'll be pleased with what he's doing, but I don't think Dad Mick will be very pleased at the suggestion that we should be getting him in a real car, because that will cost him. Unless Liquid Molly want to up the sponsorship a little bit.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of pressure building on social media that Mick maybe ought to get his hand in his pocket and get Jordan out there racing. So yeah, perhaps that's going to have to be something that we also build that pressure.
I think so. I'd love to see him out there. Now this
Mick's
is
a great guy, actually. Good to have a chat with.
He's Jordan's wingman. Callum's down in 15th at the moment, so
the last couple of rounds, they've been absolutely locked together on the same bit of circuit. So it's interesting that that commentator's curse has perhaps impacted Callum this time, unfortunately.
Yeah, we've killed that off for him, haven't we?
Indeed.
Here's Matt Richards coming in. He's pretty happy, I guess, with what he's doing. Comes into pit lane, 3rd position at the moment, so outside of row 2. Tobin Lee 4th, grabs the inside of row 2, and then Rob Butler, Jordan Brennan, Josh Martin is 7th. Alex Toth-Jones, who's having a strong weekend, in 8th place from the 2 Maxes, Max Bird and Max Coates. We were talking about nicknames, weren't we, earlier on? We were thinking Coates could be the Pirate.
That was what I was thinking. If he does tend to have a tendency to nick a few places, so maybe the Pirate could work. Although I think you came up with another one as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's a little bit more cryptic. We was thinking of calling him Hatton, as in Hatton Coates, but also in terms of Hat Garden Heist, that kind of thing. So he won't thank us at all.
Maybe we'll see how his race goes this time. If he can nick a few places from down there, and well, currently 10th, obviously that can change between now and the end of qualifying. But yeah, if he can nick a few places and build a charge towards the front of the grid, then perhaps we can stick with the Pirates.
Yeah, you can have a Pirate coat as well as a Hatton coat, can't you? So.
It's interesting. The top two again, just that 10th, or in fact nearly 2 tenths ahead of everybody else behind, but everybody else separated down to 20th by just over half a second. And credible really that we're seeing the same thing being played out again.
Yeah, really, really close stuff. 2 minutes to go, and it is tiring for these guys. Again, talking to some of the drivers over the course of the week, and it's intense, which is one thing. So there's a lot of energy, a lot of focus, and the drivers are quite tired at the end of it. Although I did notice on the timing screen that we went into a break, to grab a bite to eat or have an actual break or whatever, and the drivers are still piling in laps in the place.
They're certainly committed, aren't they?
No, probably should be. So Luke Kidsley goes through shot there briefly again, the 98 of Jordan Brennan. So it's MacIntrye, Marshall, Richards, Lee, Butler, Brennan, Josh Martin, Alex Toth-Jones, Callum Newsham, as we said, a little bit away from it. I would draw your attention to 14th place, Josh Hislop, who is the master of the reverse grid, is in 14th and handily placing himself there to make up 2 or 3 places or 4 places if he's going to get into 10th place for the reverse grid race again, and maybe nab another one. But although he's doing that today, he's actually keeping his points position very much alive. Although if we repeated the results from races 1 and 2, he will lose, I think, 2nd position in the championship again overall to Jack MacIntrye. So he's going to have to be a little bit mindful of that. And I suspect Josh might be a little bit disappointed with being down in 14th place at the moment as we.
Just noticed Will Fairclough, you mentioned earlier, Richard, that he's been getting a bit of coaching this week and some practice, and a solid 16th place for him. That's a definite improvement over previous race weekends.
Yeah, do you know what? That's a good spot, yeah. Previously, I think best result was 27th, so yeah, very definitely making progress. And it's difficult to look across 30 plus drivers and pick a driver of the race, but there may well be, and apologies if we've overlooked anybody who's had a super race from the back. If we haven't seen it, haven't spotted it, it's not really a lot we can do, and we can't compare everybody's starting position to their finishing position. So if we've missed anybody out, but that's a very good shout, good progress for him.
Yeah, definitely. He's such a nice guy, Will. We are regularly chatting with him in the paddocks when we're racing, and interesting character and fun. Really. He has some little ditties on social media now and again, which are very amusing.
What sort of things that?
Well, the sort of challenges where the things being thrown into cups, and I think he manages to put one together where it's, for want of a better word, been faked. But quite interesting and funny sometimes how he puts these things together.
Is that a TikTok type thing? Is it that sort of?
Yeah.
Oh God, I've not succumbed to that yet. I've got enough on my plate with the other ones, but I'm sure there'll be pressure at some point.
Jordan Brennan popped into 3rd there. It's just a tiny little bit closer to our 2 front runners, but they seem to have enough of a time difference to keep everybody else at bay. So I think for pole, it's likely to be between Jack and Dave. And of course, we're down to 0 on the clock now. So
yeah, fascinating session again with some drivers moving. Max Coates in 9th, so he's going to be there or thereabouts if he doesn't make progress for pole position in the 4th race. So we're just going to scribble down the time. It's going to be Jack Mack, double pole position, and well, it's very definitely not the Dave Marshall show, is it today? With Jack MacIntyre grabbing the 2 poles. We're looking at the number 11 car of Alex Toth-Jones, who's going to come home in 10th. 1 podium to his credit already today, which has been absolutely superb. But qualifying 2 is over here on the Silverstone National Circuit, and pole position going to Jack MacIntrye, who is 3rd in the championship. A good effort from him, with Dave Marshall, who will be lining up with him in 2nd place. So we can go now to our virtual commentary box, where we have the pole position man, Jack MacIntrye. Congratulations, you've done it again, a Silverstone double.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a bit of a surprise, to be honest. I saw Dave was getting quicker through practice just before quali, and I thought he was going to have it, but managed to pull some.
He must be chuffed to get a double. We were just saying, you know, it's Dave's still got the championship lead, but it's you know, far from all about him now, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I hope so. Hopefully it's not just this track. Hopefully I can continue it for the rest of the season. But yeah, qualifying really important points. I think last week I had a lot of good results, but Dave pulled away quite a lot in the championship just because of the fastest laps in the qualifying. So I've been working on that, and it seems to be working.
You going to beat him this time?
Yeah.
Hey, nice one.
We'll
good luck for the race, Jack, and we'll catch up with you hopefully on the podium.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
And I think also in the virtual commentary box with us now, we have a driver we wanted to talk to from the last race. Scott Jeffs, are you there, Scott?
Yeah, hello.
Hello, how are you, mate? How was your race, first of all, in the last one?
I've had a couple of bad races, to be honest, but I just don't seem to be on the pace at all at Silverstone. It's quite a simple track, but I'm really struggling to get my times down. So I found it a little bit now in qualifying with a little bit of adjustment to the diff. So I'm hoping to have a couple of top 20s at least here.
Are you one of the real world mini racers with some JCW races under your belt? How does it compare to real world racing for our viewers?
The way the car handles is actually like, it's a good replica of the actual mini. I think it's a little bit more forgiving. But I find what's difficult about the sim racing is you don't have a sense of speed, you don't have all the feeling through your bum and through the pedals and stuff. What I struggle with is being consistent. You've got to really make sure you find your markers around the circuit, and it's even like simple things like the brake pressure you're using. I find it really difficult on these pedals I've got, because they're not the most expensive pedals, just to be hitting the brake with the same pressure every single time. So sometimes I go a bit deep into corners, sometimes a bit early. I just need to kind of just build on that a little bit.
But you're enjoying the racing and just enjoying being able to do something as you can't get competitively on track at the moment for real.
Yeah, it's great fun. I'm really getting into it, to be honest. I just want to be a little bit faster.
Well, it's great to hear. Thanks for having a quick chat with us, mate. Sorry we didn't get to catch up with you immediately after race 2, but thanks for chatting.
No worries. Thank you.
Good luck for this one. And we go on to our featured driver for race 3, which is James Merrills. James, are you there?
Yep, loud and clear.
Good to hear you, mate. Well, thanks for joining us. How was your qualifying?
Not as well as I think I could have done, to be honest. I think there's probably a couple of tenths in it that I didn't manage to get. I was looking at the sort of late 101. Not sure what time I actually did, but I'm down in 27th. Like Scott, I'm struggling a bit to get the pace at Silverstone. Turn 1, the track limits are pretty difficult. They're punishing if you go too wide. You can only do that so many times before we get a drive-through. I saw a lot of drivers in race 1 getting a drive-through, and that, helped me go through the field a little bit. But yeah, it's going better than I expected, to be honest.
We're heading up towards the top 10, certainly on the results. You were very close to that at Donington Park, the first round. We were chatting about you during qualifying, and on your CV it tells us that you've done a lot of driving with Formula Student, and I think they base themselves. They do events here. I've seen some here, so you're fairly familiar with the track anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It's more of an autocross with Formula Student, so we do it off. I think it's off the side of Cops on a bit of runoff or something.
Right.
But yeah, the gist is that we're a bunch of students. A lot of them are engineers. They design a sort of open wheeler. It's a full carbon thing, and we take it down to Silverstone once a year. But unfortunately, that was cancelled.
Of course.
Mini Challenge eSeries, we're getting some good airtime for our sponsors, so that's helping us out a lot.
And how's business with Merrills Motorsport at the moment with the difficult times?
Sponsorship is hard to come by. I was looking at, I was talking to Justina Williams actually early in the year about going in the Cooper class under the Accelerate banner.
Yeah.
But yeah, the sponsorship's just not there at the moment.
Well, fingers crossed it can get turned around. And you know, many thanks for chatting to us today. And we look forward to seeing what you can do in race 3 coming up in just a few minutes.
Cheers. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot, James, for joining us. Great to hear from different drivers in the category. As you can hear, working hard. The sim racers are working hard at what they're doing here. They're working hard out in the real world to try and put budgets together and you know, come out and entertain us all once we go real world racing again in the very near future, which is commendable. I think most drivers are finding this, Anthony, a big help, just to put a little bit of focus back in and, you know, talk about something they're doing here and how well they're doing it, how well it's being received. So it's a good promotional tool for these drivers.
Yeah, it certainly is, and I think the feedback that we're getting is that, of course, there's always incidents that people feel that they're hard done by, but overall they're enjoying the series, feeling that it's working for them, and as I said earlier on in the commentary, that we're very much anticipating continuing doing this for the future as well, and giving people the opportunity to keep doing something over the winter when normally there's not much going on.
That'd be absolutely superb to see, and something to look forward to over the winter. It's certainly been a very long winter this year, which we could have done without, but hey, we'll get through it, which is good news. We're looking forward to race number 3 here of the 4 races that we have on the Silverstone National Circuit layout for you. Richard John Neal here with Anthony Williams, the Championship Director of the Mini Challenge. Quick reminder of the timetable. We've got 2 more races to go. We'll be underway just under 5 minutes with our 3rd race of the day. And then pretty much straight after that, as soon as we've done the podium interviews, cars will form up on the grid with the top 10 drivers from the finishing order of race 1 reversed for the second race of this second part, which is race 4 of the meeting. And super racing we've had so far. We are going to see for race number 3 the same pair of drivers on the front of the grid to that we saw in race number 1. Jack MacIntrye, who has been the first driver in the campaign to overcome the domination in qualifying of championship leader Dave Marshall. So Dave's still scoring points and working hard. As you can see from the calendar there, we move to Silverstone International next weekend. I think I prefer Silverstone National, but International, the more I see it, the more I think it's going to be a good venue. And I'm certainly looking forward to seeing Silverstone International on the TOCA calendar. I'm surprised it's taken them quite so many years to get there. I suppose the demise, sadly, of Rockingham has sort of forced the hand a little bit. But I'm really looking forward to the real world racing there, and indeed our sim event next weekend.
No, it'll definitely be interesting to see how the Mini guys get on, because we've never raced there on that configuration before, and indeed, obviously this year, unfortunately, we won't be doing it this year anyway because of the slight reduction in the TOCA calendar. But nevertheless, it will be interesting to see how that goes. And it's also going to be interesting to see how these 2 front runners get away again. And are we going to see a repeat of race 1 where it was cat and mouse really all race long, but just Dave, the machine Marshall, managing to keep piling on the pressure and just nicking it towards the end of the race? It will be interesting to see if that happens, and indeed whether those 2 just manage to drive away and separate themselves from the rest of the pack, or whether the pack manage to hang on to the rear bumper of those 2.
Lights out here at Silverstone for our 3rd of 4 races, and it's a good start by Jack MacIntrye, the silent assassin. I tell you what, he's not as silent as he was before. He's really gunning for it now. Jordan Brennan in 3rd place, putting Dave Marshall under pressure. Brennan is gaining in confidence by my money. Race by race, we've got Matt Richards in 4th place as they go round Beckett's for the first time. Marshall's on the offensive. Isaac Smith coming up as well. Smith's had a good run in the darker blue car, I think back in 5th position at the moment as they come down the Wellington Straight. And look at Marshall, tees up the inside line. Dave Marshall challenging for the lead, but we're going to see, I think, 36, 37 car hold on to the outside line and grab the inside as they come out of Brooklands into Luffield. Now the question is, will somebody follow the silent assassin through on the inside line? I'm surprised that Jordan Brennan isn't maybe a little bit closer, perhaps not for the want of trying. Still there in 3rd place, Tobin Lee coming up to join the party as well. But again, that 37 car runs wide. Marshall thinks about having a look on the outside, on the inside line, sorry, to try and get a run, but it doesn't work for him. And it's Jack MacIntrye that leads under big pressure from Dave Marshall, with Jordan Brennan in 3rd. But that was a good clean opening lap. I didn't see that we lost too many cars going around Copse for the first time.
That's a great start, wasn't it? Obviously slightly interrupted by me carrying on speaking for too long over the actual start itself. But again, yeah, it looks very similar, doesn't it? These 2 just having that little bit of extra pace over the rest of the field. And it'll be interesting to see whether they managing to just pull away and extend that lead and give them some safety before they have their own little race? But no, it looks like Dave Marshall's just piling on the pressure as last time.
Yeah, this is a key part of the circuit, isn't it? When you're coming into Brooklands, you can sometimes make it fast there. The car runs wide here, as we saw in race number 1. It was James MacIntrye that ran a little bit, sorry, Jack MacIntrye that ran a little bit wide, allowing Marshall to go through on lap 17. But this time, thus far, I think he'll have learned from that. We may well see the 37 car grab his first fastest off the front wheel. It remains to be seen. Look at it side by side, though, for third position with Matt Richards with his nose in front at the moment from Jordan Brennan, the Liquimoli Northcott car, putting him under pressure. Looks around the outside line. Then it's Tobin Lee, Isaac Smith, Rob Butler, Josh Martin, Alex Toth-Jones. Then Ryan Elliott in 10th place, head of Lewis Brown. Max Coates in 12th, from Josh Hislop down in 13th, but up one position on his starting place. Then Max Bird 14th from Luke Kidsley, and Callum Newsham down in 16th position at the moment. So some real impressive names spread right the way through the order as Tobin Lee starts to tee up Callum Newsham. Begins to have a look at him, but it's Matt Richards holding sway at the moment in that third place. Now, they mustn't get involved in too much of a squabble because it will allow those top two drivers to get away, and by the look of it, they're just starting to build on that at the moment. And Marshall could really, or the others could really do with Marshall having his mirrors full of cars and just take the pressure off Jack MacIntyre in this race, although Marshall will probably be perfectly happy with the second place finish as they go across the line, complete another lap. Jordan Brennan, though, seen a lot of good defensive driving from him, and now showing his mettle here as a good attacker.
Slightly different gaggle of drivers here in the sort of 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th positions, all fighting away. But again, it's doing the same as it did in race 1, where they're just allowing those two leaders to pull away and get a decent, healthy gap.
Yeah, all good, close, competitive stuff. Quick look at the inset there. James Merrills, the driver we spoke to immediately after qualifying, our featured racer in this one in car number 88. So James trying to work his way up the order and certainly making progress in the championship. But Jordan Brennan really piling the pressure on Matt Richards. Super battle going on here. They're slowing each other up. They're getting embroiled. This is allowing Isaac Smith, Tobin Lee, Rob Butler and Alex Toth-Jones. Toth-Jones making progress as well here. Race pace looking very good indeed from the British GT Championship driver, really in the mix well, as Brennan takes a wide line here and tries to build up a little bit of momentum. Is he going to be able to get the run through on the inside line? He's still going wide and looking to try and get past that number 4 car. Dives down the inside line now. Is he going to be able to make this stick? Switches back to the inside as they go into Beckett's. Again, can't quite get his nose in front, hasn't got the momentum to do so, but he's going to be keeping an eye behind him because you've got Isaac Smith in that darker blue car up towards the sharp end, really properly for the first time this season, I think. Smith following Brennan, then it's Tobin Lee. After Lee, we've got the white and blue car of Rob Butler. Brennan has a nibble around the outside line. Is that going to see the place? No, it doesn't. It's Matt Richards still in third. Big gap back, 2.6 seconds between Dave Marshall, the championship leader, in second position, and Jack MacIntyre, who is the race leader, who's got 4/10 at the moment over the championship leader. There is Isaac Smith in 1, 2, 3, running a Fanatec Porsche wheel, Fanatec V3 pedals and 1.5 version shifter, Fanatec rig, and using virtual reality Oculus Rift to aid his driving experience. As again, Brennan putting the pressure on, Smith still working hard, Tobin Lee right behind him. I think it's the first time I can recall these two being in relatively close proximity, and Rob Butler here could be the dark horse because he's just watching what's going on and seeing if he can work out whether he can nip past them all at the opportune moment. As again, Brennan has a little look down the inside line in the Liquimoli car, gets his nose momentarily in front. Is he going to clear the car here before they get? He has. Good move by Brennan, round into third place. Super stuff.
That's been building up for the last few corners, and they've been switching places on the timing sheet. And now he's just managed to make it stick. But there's a really and who's that?
Ryan Elliott. That was Ryan Elliott going off.
Yeah,
I think he's rejoined.
But maybe it's a drive-through. But yeah, these guys, they've obviously been battling for the last few laps, and now the two front runners are really off into the distance. It'll be interesting to see how they're managing to what that ends up happening there between the two of those two.
Yeah.
Max Coates was living up to his nickname, nicking a few places. Max the Pirate Coates, and we'll have to see whether he can manage to pull a few more places back over the next few laps. But that was great driving by Jordan Brennan, wasn't it? Yeah, good move.
Yeah, great, very well earned move, wasn't it? He was driver of the race for race number 1. He could well get a maiden podium here if he can hold on. As we look at Dave Marshall, this is the battle for the lead. Marshall, look how tight he keeps it over the curbs, and this is where he grabbed the lead in race number 1. So still trying hard to try and force a mistake from Jack MacIntyre. We reckon Jack MacIntyre, third in the championship, will go back into second. This is only a point down at the moment on Josh Hislop, who disappointingly, the young Scot, is down in 14th place. So Hislop really is going to lose out championship points wise as Dave Marshall tries to close in as they go through Cobb's Corner. These lead guys, absolutely superb, Anthony, on track limits around Cobbs.
They are. I wonder if actually with Dave Marshall, his new steering wheel with the improved feedback is just giving him that little bit of extra accuracy that's helping to help get those driving lines absolutely perfect lap after lap after lap, and he's really putting the pressure on now. He was down about half a second on Jack MacIntyre, but that gap, as you can see yourselves, has closed up to only a quarter of a second now, so he's well within striking distance.
He's very much there, isn't he? There is Max Coates in the 71 car, 10th position, trying to close in on Ryan Elliott, who I think had a bit of contact which caused that moment earlier on, has recovered well from that.
Just have to see whether he's going to be the wall again this time.
The wall, that's the new nickname, isn't it? Yeah, he really has set up a wall in some of these races with superb defensive work that he's done, and really enjoying his racing. And I think has probably made the most progress points-wise of the drivers from outside of the top 6 overall of the championship in this meeting. So if he's not top 5 by the end of the day, he'll be very near to that. I didn't manage to clock where Matt Richards finished in one of the races, so couldn't work out the points difference between Richards and Ryan Elliott, but it's going to be very close between those two. And Richards running in 4th position in this race. There is Elliott. Max Coates still busy chasing. Max, one of the hardest working. Everybody works hard, but you know the visibility that I've seen Max putting hard work into this campaign, every campaign that he's done in the past, is a good role model for anyone who wants to follow it. As I say, I'm not saying that other people don't work hard, but I've seen firsthand how hard Max works at racing, marketing, and getting people involved and keeping people, making sure that people are happy. A really good guy, and just loves his racing as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's an interesting point, that really, in order to be successful in motorsport, it's not just about how you are, how quick you are on the track. It is about how you can look after your partners, make sure they have an entertaining weekend, and certainly he does a good job of that. But of course, there are other drivers that do similarly good jobs too.
Absolutely right. And this is a
Marshall
good battle for the lead. Yeah, Marshall's having a good go, trying to explore the outside line there. Might be able to tuck back on the inside now as they come through Beckett's, but that will only gift him the outside line on the run down into Brooklands, although he might be able to hang on to that if he can replicate what we've seen a couple of other drivers do on the outside line here. He's certainly having a go for it. It's going to largely depend on how much room Jack MacIntyre gives him. MacIntyre won't want to give him too much room, and equally Dave Marshall won't want to take too many risks, so Marshall has to go wide. Get a great shot of the cars coming through. Marshall running a little bit wider here, just trying to explore if he can square the corner off, maybe get a little bit more of a run along the home straight. But it just goes to show how very, very equally matched these two drivers are, MacIntyre and Marshall. They're battling hard, Anthony, but they've built up a 4-second gap over Matt Richards in 3rd place.
Yeah, when they seem to get away, these two really are in a bit of a class of their own, aren't they? In the reverse grid race, clearly didn't go all their own way, but yeah, this is a class act.
Really superb stuff from them, as we see Callum Newsham in the 16 car, the left-hand shot. Oh, a little bit of contact, and Newsham straight towards us there. I think that was Lewis Brownie was also involved. We lost the timing screen, unfortunately, so I can't tell you at the moment who's got fastest lap. Maybe Mike can ping that over to me. I'm not sure why I'm not seeing it on my tablet, but that's disappeared as the battle for the lead still continues. And MacIntyre on the inside line, but trying to brave it out is Dave Marshall. He's working so hard to try and get around that outside line. And is he going to chip back now and go for the inside run here? MacIntyre not being overly defensive by my money. These two now have got the gap out to 5 seconds as they cross the line. And I tell you what, Marshall is not happy with 2nd position here. He's having a right good nibble for the lead. You get the feel, and quite rightly so, that he feels full of confidence racing the silent assassin, Jack MacIntyre here. It's a great battle between these two. And now, side by side again, and Marshall surely is going to grab the lead. He's got in front. Marshall, the new leader, different part of the circuit from race number 1, and that proves that the championship leader is very much not a one-trick pony.
What a move. That was really fantastic, wasn't it? And whilst all that's going on, Isaac Smith has managed to pull himself up onto a podium position as well.
So yeah, absolutely superb stuff. So Isaac Smith coming through as well. This is great if we can have Isaac Smith on the podium, another first-time podium runner. But we need to watch Dave Marshall here. Remember, MacIntyre, the chaser, has been quicker in both the qualifying sessions, but by the slimmest of margins. Can he maintain the pace and maintain the challenge and maybe get back into the lead as we watch Callum Newsham again? Newsham down in 24th, chasing Thomas O'Farrell. We've got Theo Bridgeman right behind him as well. So Isaac Smith third, Jordan Brennan fourth. Then it is Matt Richards, Alex Toth-Jones in 6th position we're looking at now in the MSL car. This is another great strong race, but he's coming under pressure from Rob Butler, who very nearly pays a visit into the boot space. Right behind them is Max Coates. A little bit of a gap back behind Max, I think, to Ryan Elliott. Yes, there is at the moment, as Rob Butler looks on what will be the outside line coming down into Brooklands, and Toth-Jones reading that one well. Holds on to 6th position. He wants to try and close down on Butler again. Jordan Brennan up front as well. Matt Richards in the number 4 car in that group that they want to chase. Still 3/10 between Marshall and MacIntyre for the race leader. So cracking stuff going on with these. Toth-Jones looking to try and tee up the inside line here as they go past the pit lane. Max Coates goes to the outside line and will try and go for the line around Hops, but it's Toth-Jones still challenging Rob Butler for 6th position, and Dave Marshall.
Max just managing to get past there, somewhere slightly out of shot.
Yep, and still
working.
working.
Actually, they're basically side by side.
Yeah, and now Toth-Jones though spots a gap, sees a little bit more speed on the inside line, and I think he's going to get him back and possibly take the battle here to Rob Butler side by side. And it's a quartet now, because joining them again is Ryan Elliott in the number 2 car. So while they've been squabbling, Ryan's taken the opportunity to close back up. Shame he had that little nudge earlier on, because he could have been at the front of this. So the wall, as he's been dubbed, no longer in a defensive position, but very much in attacking mode, as indeed is Max Coates, who goes to the inside. Ryan Elliott to the outside line, going very wide there. I think they all come out of Stowe Corner in exactly the same race position that they went into it. It's still Butler in 6th, chasing number 11 car there of Alex Toth-Jones. Max Coates now still coming under pressure from Ryan Elliott. Josh Hislop from 14th is up into 10th, so he's the next car behind this quartet. So Hislop getting some reasonable points, but he will see second in the championship heading away to the likes of Jack Mack as they go side by side again. This is great racing from Alex Toth-Jones, trying everything. Has a good go on the outside line. Doesn't work for him, drops back. He's got to get defensive because he's got Max Coates ready to snap that position away as soon as he makes a mistake. Doesn't lose too much drive by looking around the outside line, but it's a good attempt. He's going to have a look down the inside line here. A little bit of weaving from Rob Butler. Not overly so. I don't think that's going to be anything the Clark's going to be unduly concerned about. Now Ryan Elliott in the mix as well at the back of that quartet, as you see, very much involved as well. And Elliott having a look at the inside line of Max Coates, couldn't quite find enough momentum to try and nibble his way through. Meanwhile, we look at James Merrill's in the 88 car up ahead of Keir McConomy. Those two having a good battle, as indeed they did in the earlier races. McConomy was ahead, I think, of Merrill's when we looked at them in, was it race 1 or race 2? I've lost track of which race that was, but Merrill's has got the upper hand in this one, the man we heard from at the end of qualifying, and having a very good run in the 88 car. It really is a job to know where to look, isn't it? But
there's action all the way down the field, isn't there? That's the.
Yeah.
It is very difficult for us to keep up with everything that's going on. So, as you said earlier on, we all apologise for missing anything that might be happening, but we just can't keep up.
No, for sure. It's super racing from all of these guys working so hard. Butler still there with Max Coates busy chasing, and Coates in the 71 machine Now trying to close down Rob Butler as the main shot now goes to Keir Economy, who's building up for a move here. So Keir looks to the outside line and now switches back. He's going to go for the cutback as they go into Brooklands. Focus on Merrill's now. Has McConomy got enough momentum to make it stick? He's now been forced to the outside line. You can see Theo Bridgeman immediately in front. Economy goes a little bit wide, loses out there, trying to regain momentum as they come around the final corner on the lap. Meanwhile,
Jack MacIntyre's catching up here. He's been closing in over the last minute or so, and he's really there, as you can see.
Yeah, he's really turning the tables here, isn't he, on Dave Marshall, who wants to put the pressure on Marshall, which was the reverse of what we saw. A little bit of contact between the two, and has he lost much momentum out of that? It's having very little, as it turns out. So MacIntyre, the driver, who is trying absolutely everything to close in on and just find a chink in the armour of the championship leader, Dave Marshall, who, remember, is looking to maintain a 100% record of winning the fastest off the front races.
Of course, no favouritism here, but it would be great to see Jack managing to assassinate Dave's lead in these closing stages.
Oh, for sure. You know, we want to see different drivers put the championship leader under pressure. That's what we're all here to see who can effectively knock Marshall off his perch at the moment. So he is going to get more and more pressure as the season goes on. And MacIntyre at the moment, as I say, still chasing. They're 5.7 seconds to good. So this is a straight fight between these two. MacIntyre chasing hard. Marshall still the leader. And this is really a measure for Marshall, because remember, at Donington and Brands, the fastest off the front races, he got out front early on, built a bit of a lead, didn't sit back, because a racing driver never does that, but he had it relatively comfortable.
Under control.
Dave Marshall, absolutely, Anthony, under control. This race, it is under control, but he is under pressure.
Fascinating to watch.
Yeah, superb stuff from these two.
Solid third position at the moment for Isaac Smith. That would be a fantastic result if he can manage to get his podium. I don't know how much pressure he's under from the chasing pack, but I'm sure it's all pretty close there for third place. Yeah,
it's really going to be good to see, isn't it? We're having a quick look there. Max Bird running in 9th place. You can see at the back of that group, in the middle of the group actually, there he is in the 44 car, having a good run at the moment. Josh Hislop in 10th, hasn't moved up from 10th when we last checked in on him. Fastest lap, by the way, is with Marshall, as MacIntyre's got his nose in front. It's Jack MacIntyre back through into the lead, and Dave Marshall now for sure knows that, having taken the lead and been repassed, he knows that he has got a battle on now at the front of this race, and indeed going forward at the front of the championship, with the silent assassin versus the machine here. Marshall's coming back on the inside line. This is a proper lead race between those two. We've seen great stuff from Marshall going through. Wonderful stuff too from MacIntyre getting back in. Now we're going to see the machine get back through on the inside line. This is what he did earlier on. Coming through, he's got the inside line. He's done it again in exactly the same place. Dave Marshall, that was machining.
It certainly was. Incredible move.
Yeah,
and to repeat the earlier move, 10 minutes ago. But can Jack come back?
Absolutely amazing stuff from these, having another go, and Marshall, having been passed once, is not the sort of driver to let that happen again. But you can see MacIntyre all over the back of him. Absolutely proper stuff. Great podium battle going on left of shot between Jordan Brennan and Isaac Smith. It's Isaac Smith there at the moment. Either of these two drivers, it'll be fantastic to see either of them on the podium. We've got Matt Richards in 5th, he's still in with a shout as well. But battle for the lead, battle for third position. You could not ask for more. This is real close stuff.
I'm not sure if there's a little bit of contact there, Richard. Actually, we saw Dave Marshall quite sideways at that point, but actually that's allowed, I think Jack's dropped back a bit from that.
You're right, he has, and it looks like Dave Marshall has got his 100% fastest off the front record intact. Isaac Smith still there. Jordan Brennan wants a podium, so too does Isaac Smith. We've got the reigning BRSCC Fiesta champion up against sim racer Jordan Brennan. Hasn't got, I don't think, that much experience of sim racing Jordan, but Jordan himself under big pressure again from Matt Richards in the number 4 car. Remember, Matt Richards qualified in 4th position here. and he's really piling on the pressure, and is going to go through now as Jordan Brennan is on the outside line, exploring every bit of tarmac possible to try and get around the outside line of Isaac Smith, who gave him room at the first part of that corner. Runs a little bit wide. Jordan Brennan's going to pop up the inside line now, but it's the checkered flag. He's out. This is the run to the flag, and it looks like Isaac Smith's going to take third position. It is Dave Marshall that has won the race here from Jack MacIntyre, Isaac Smith, and maiden podium Jordan Brennan, again fighting so hard, as did Matt Richards in 5th position. 6th will go to Alex Toth-Jones, 7th Max Coates. Then it was Ryan Elliott from Max Bird in 9th place, Josh Hislop in 10th. Guess who's on pole for race 4? Josh Hislop again. Amazing stuff, absolutely incredible stuff. But Dave Marshall is going to be very happy. What a race between those two. I'm really stumped as to who's going to be driving the race there. There is a temptation for me to go for Marshall, having engaged in a fastest off the front race, not for the first time, because we saw it in race number 1, but he got past and responded to that pressure and came back. So I'm tempted to go for Dave Marshall, but I'd be interested for your thoughts, Anthony.
Well, I think clearly there's just that consistency and the battling spirit that Dave's got to still come back and win that race. But of course, there are other people down the order, and I think Isaac Smith deserves a shout out, and it's clearly a great result for him.
Yeah, I think that's a good call, actually. So yeah, maybe we'll go with Isaac. Let's go down though into Park first. Let's have a word. Dave Marshall, another tough race. Congratulations.
God, talking about tough. That was, I meant that I had to win that, and I know Jack's got more pace on this track than this. You could see it from quali. He's just got that extra little bit. So I knew I needed to try and get in front. And what a defensive race from both parties. I like to think it was reasonably clean, and fair play to Jack for letting us keep the place on the top on the first corner. Big respect.
Nice one, mate. And a different dynamic, really, because the first race, obviously, you hounded him, and then you got the lead. But in that one, a different dynamic because he got you back momentarily, and then you managed to repass him where you got him earlier on.
Yes. So luckily, first race, I managed to drop him by about a second, which meant he wasn't in my draft, and it's not as easy to try and keep up. So we were on about the same lap time, so we weren't gaining. He wasn't dropping away. But that race there, any mistakes that happened, we kept within half a second. So it just meant that, he's constantly on your back bumper, which is not really what you want. So
congratulations, mate, and P10 for the reverse grid race once again. And we'll maybe chat to you after that one. Let's go to the man who was in 2nd position, silent assassin, Jack MacIntyre on the podium again. What a race, Jack.
Yeah, another really good one with Dave. It's good to have such a respectful race and to be able to push so hard and know that you aren't going to get speared off at any point. I think I had a really good chance going into the last lap, but then hit Dave going into the first corner. I was trying to fill his mirrors up a little bit too much and was too late on the brakes, so kind of blew it there. I think I would have fancied another shot at that, but no, a really good race. Happy with 2nd.
Dave said in his interview, I don't know if you could hear it or not, but he said, that Jack's good around here. Is that him trying to limit where he thinks you're good? Because I think you've been quick everywhere else.
Maybe. I think I found a little bit of one lap pace, but I think in the races Dave's still got the edge. He's maybe a bit better at looking after the tyres, so I think that's something I need to work on for next week. Hopefully I'll be able to beat him at some point.
But at least you can pass him now.
Yeah, I was quite happy with that move around the outside. I knew that's one of the only places where you can really throw a pass, and I guess thanks to Dave for leaving the space, it's really easy to run someone off wide when they attempt that. So.
Well, cracking race, mate, and good luck for the reverse grid race. You'll be running off 9th off the grid for race 3, so hopefully we'll catch up with you a little bit later on. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Let's have a word with our 3rd place man, and what a delight to welcome to the podium for the first time, Isaac Smith. Congratulations, Isaac, on a fine 3rd place. It's been coming, and you've finally done it.
Thank you. Obviously, since the practice race right at the start. I've been on the pace, just really struggling with, obviously, the race.
And in terms of your real racing career, the reigning BRSCC Fiesta champion, and this is mirroring what you're doing in real life. You're coming into JCW Mini Challenge Racing this year, and it's a great way, isn't it, to set things up, finding that pace and getting up onto the podium. And that was a hard race that you had there as well with Matt Richards and John Brennan.
Yeah, that was a very, very hard race, I've got to admit. And obviously, I expect that to happen in real life all. So, really, keep it on the podium, and hopefully we can rack the points in like we did last year.
Well, it's great to see you get that third position. Honour and a privilege to be chatting to you on the podium for the first time. I'm sure it'll be the first of many podia that we see from you over the course of the season. So very well done. We'll let you get away and get ready for race 4.
Thank you.
Thanks, Isaac Smith. Really good to have him there. And we can also have a chat with James Merrills. James, in an earlier race today, we saw you, I think, chasing Keir McConomy down, and you were ahead of Keir in that one, certainly at the point we were watching that race. But how was it?
Yeah, I know it was only P26, but that was probably the most fun race I've had actually the whole time. McConomy and Dignan ahead. I was basically just defending McConomy the whole race. He was really filling my mirrors up. Managed to pressurise Dignan a little bit on the last lap towards the end, but fair play to him. He kept the position. But yeah, that was a really fun one for me.
Excellent. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And how tiring is this? Because we've done 3 20-minute races plus the qualies. I mean, that's an hour of sim time, plus the qualies. Do you get tired? Is it mentally stressful, or is it physically tiring?
Yeah, definitely, especially when you've got some of these real world guys pressurizing you like that. It is mentally demanding. You're under pressure the whole time. I mean, I've got a litre of water next to me. I'm 2/3 of the way through it already. So,
well, many congratulations on a great race, and thanks for keeping us entertained. And we look forward to catching up with you a little bit later on. If not in this meeting, then certainly later on in the season.
Cheers.
Thanks a lot, mate. Looking forward now to our second reverse grid race. It's gone very quickly today, I've got to say. And pole position is Josh Hislop again. So we're going to see Hislop grab another win. Is he going to get away as he did in race number 2, and as he has done in previous races so far this year, as he tries to claw back Jack MacIntyre second in the championship? MacIntyre back into P2. However, starting alongside Josh Hislop here, we were talking about karma earlier on, Anthony, and the karma could be for Max Bird, who starts on the inside of the front row. So Max Bird was 10th, so could be a good result for him here.
It'll be a great opportunity for sure, and it'd be nice to see him hopefully have a cleaner race than he has had. I'm sure again Sarah will be shouting at the screen when she sees him up there racing, hopefully for the win if possible. And we're getting loads of other comments on social media with people shouting at the screens, and I think some of them are in the same houses as their favourite drivers, and I think their drivers are saying to get out of the way because they're distracting them because they're shouting so much. That's great to hear. So do keep those comments coming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and any other channels.
Yeah, please do feed through. We had any visitors that because I think we had James Gordon was with us last time, wasn't he?
Yeah, I don't think we've seen any of those. Well, I may have missed them, but I don't think I've seen any of our ex-racers particularly. But I was saying that, and I've just noticed Jacob Andrews raced with us a couple of years. He's been watching us, and I think there's actually Barry Welsh, who's one of the guys who produces TV for Real World Racing.
He's my Oppo.
Digitex, I think, is the company that he runs.
Yeah, he's
does
my
the
Oppo.
TV coverage.
Yeah, he's my Oppo.
I think he's been watching us at some point during the day. And other than that, I don't think there's any other of our sort of famous friends that have currently been watching.
I was going to give a shout out to Adrian Gibson, who's part of the, again, it's a bit of a Legends theme going, but we hook up with these guys quite a lot. Adrian Gibson, who is dad of Will Gibson, who's one of the front runners in the National Legends Cars Championship, and he's missed the first 2 events. I did tell him that you can obviously catch up online afterwards, because it's not just watching it live, you can watch the recordings, but I don't know if he's managed to join us. A warm welcome. I've got a suspicion that those guys may well be looking to do a Lawrence Davey at some point, thinking about Mini Challenge, because Lawrence moved up from the Legends Championship into Mini Challenge, and Will Gibson, extremely talented driver. But we're on the grid, ready for race number 4. Josh Hislop in the blue NHS car, and Immediately behind him, you can see Ryan Elliott. Ryan will line up third on the grid. What we can't see from this particular shot is Max Bird, who lines up on the inside, because pole position is the outside line here. So ready for the race, which is underway, and it's a good start again from Josh Hislop. Max Bird trying to get in the mix as well as they come down into Copse Corner for the first time. And a good start by Hislop again. This is what he did in race number 2. This is what he's done in the maiden reverse grid races of each of the 3 rounds that we've had thus far. Gets away well. Max Bird is in second place. Past they goers at Maggots into Beckett's for the first time. And it's Ryan Elliott, I think, who's gone up into second position. Elliott makes the move around the outside line of Bird. He's still trying to develop that as they come down the Wellington Straight for the first time. But good stuff from Hislop. He'll be keen to see a battle developing behind him so that he could then develop the lead. And it is a big, big battle for P2. Hislop the leader, and a good, clean start once again, Anthony.
Oh, that's a great start. It's good to see Max still hanging in there in the front of the pack here, rather than unfortunately suffering from a bit of contact. So it'll be nice to see him continuing with a strong race. But again, Josh Hislop just edged out in front, and you could just see that if these other guys carry on battling, it's going to be a repeat of race 2. It wasn't it, earlier on? But it looks as though perhaps that's not quite the case, because Elliott just a little gap for him too, in front of Max Bird. So perhaps he can really take the fight to Josh.
Yeah, Ryan Elliott becoming a regular on the podium, and of course once you become a regular on the podium appearances get old very quickly, and the next thing you want is a win. That's what he's going to be after here. Ryan's confident. I did put him under pressure in that interview. If you watched it through, I said that if you look at the graph of your results, it's all going up, and you know it doesn't stop going up until you get to position number 1, and that's what he's rightly aiming for. Absolutely right. Max Bird in third. We can't discount Max in these very early stages of this race, but good clean start. Let's see who gets the best flying lap.
I think Tim Bird, Max's dad's also watching, so hopefully he'll be enjoying this one.
I hope so too. I hope everybody's enjoying the racing, and Max on for, at the moment, potential podium space. Dave Marshall has gone from 10th to 8th. Jack MacIntyre is in 9th place, so Marshall with the upper hand over the man provisionally T2 in the championship. So provisionally, because it's my mathematics, not official by any stretch of the imagination. There is Jack MacIntyre, the silent assassin, still running well. Right behind him is James
MacIntyre. Yes, so it's the MacIntyre gang.
Yeah.
Slightly different spellings, we'll have to remember that.
Yeah, probably not brothers, but maybe a MacIntyre clan. The clan MacIntyre or something.
Yes.
Out front, Hislop's still there, 2 tenths ahead of Ryan Elliott. The wall is chasing at the moment. Max Bird in third. Coates is in 4th place. Max Coates. Then Matt Richards running well in 5th. He's having a good, strong second half of the meeting here, Matt Richards. Jordan Brennan 6th. Alex Toth-Jones in 7th position from Dave Marshall, who is still there. So this is the point in the race where we get in, things start to settle down. It's Ryan Elliott with the fastest lap now, 61.6 for the wall in 2nd position, having a good go. Can you have a flying wall? Pink Floyd terms you had a flying pig, didn't we, years ago?
This is looking very close, isn't it?
It is very, very close indeed. And Hislop doing what he is getting a reputation for doing, which is going off the front of a reverse grid race, bedding in and getting away. But with Ryan Elliott getting the first fastest flying lap, he's going to try and keep him keen. There is Tobin Lee in the pinky purple, busy chasing Jack MacIntyre in the white and blue 37. Tobin Lee. Then we've got James MacIntyre, Isaac Smith back in 12th at the moment. So Isaac's lost a little bit of ground. Great to hear his podium interview, and really good to see him get his first podium. I'm sure it's going to be the first of many. He's just adrift of this little group at the moment. MacIntyre in 9th in 37. Tobin Lee is in 10th place immediately behind him. And Dave Marshall busy having a look at Alex Toth-Jones immediately in front of him as we look at Kieran McConomy. The watch driver in this one, incidentally scheduled to be Kenny Press. But James Merrill's getting stuck in again, having a really good dice with Kieran McConomy. You heard him also describing that he had a good race with Ryan Dignan in the previous race as well. And at the moment, I think those guys, yes, they are clear of Ryan Dignan. So had the better of the starts. We'll watch Matt Richards chasing Max Coates as the race leaders go through, with Ryan Elliott now up front. So Elliott the leader, Josh Hislop is second. So Ryan Elliott, race leader here on the Silverstone National, with Josh Hislop down in P2, coming under pressure from Max Bird. Then it's Max Coates, Matt Richards coming under pressure too from Jordan Brennan in the Liquid Moly car. And there is Richards. Now let's see whether Ryan Elliott can use his pace. Is he still fastest? Yes, he is. So the fastest man on track at the moment is the race leader. This is maybe setting us up, possibly early days. Don't want to curse the commentator on him, but are we going to see another first-time winner?
Well, that'd be great to see, but as you say, it's still early days, and there's clearly too many people chasing hard, including the machine, as we see in shots. But obviously, Max Coates right up behind Max Bird. Maybe the opportunity for him to nick that spot, third place. But it would be nice to see Max Bird also up there too. So it's just interesting seeing how this is panning out.
Yeah, for sure. Rue Clark busy chasing Kieran McConomy. Rue in the yellow and white car, Kieran McConomy in the lime green machine, as they whiz past us at Maggots. And I think Rue Clark, the Arnold Clark connections, maybe have him as feature driver at the Knock Hill round. We've got a long way to go before we get there, but we're going to try and speak to as many drivers as we can over the course of the year. Side by side, McConomy on the inside. Rue having a very good look at the moment at the outside, and we'll go to the cutback. He's going to be able to do it. It's not room here, not leaving him any room at all to go past. But now look at the run that Rue Clark gets on the second part of that complex, and can he convert that pace into, or can he convert the momentum into pace coming along the main straight? I think the answer is that they're pretty equal at the moment as we come through Woodcote onto the main straight here. Tick off another lap with a good battle between those two. Head of that group is Simon Reed in the 35 car. Meanwhile, looking back from Jack MacIntyre and Dave Marshall looking to try and get past him. Marshall just goes out of shot. So MacIntyre working hard. You can see Marshall on the outside line of this one, with Tobin Lee in behind. Three top sim racers all together there. And this is looking good for Marshall to get the position back if he can hold on to the outside line. Tobin Lee has got to choose which one he wants to follow, but it's Jack MacIntyre that hangs on to it. But there's a gap on the inside line, and Dave Marshall sees that gap. He's going to pop through. See how he got the lead in race number 1 and does it again. So Marshall repasses MacIntyre. These two could be really tied together with a bit of string in these last two races. Very close indeed. Tobin Lee watching and learning from those two, and a good three-way fight going on between them, and that is all for 8th place. They've got Alex Toth-Jones and company sort of disappearing ahead of them as they all squabble over each other's position and potentially slow each other up. Super stuff.
Very much so, and it's nice to see James MacIntyre up there. He hasn't had necessarily that many strong results, but seeing him up there battling with these absolute top racers, the guys who are leading the championship, so he hopefully will be able to learn something from that.
Yeah, another regular Real World Mini Challenge driver, James MacIntyre.
Such a nice guy.
Excellent stuff, and got a fair bit of experience across different classes, and good to see him putting that to the fore here. He's in the white and green car at the back of that group, and of course what you've got to put into perspective here for James MacIntyre, he's dicing with 3 of the top 5 drivers in the championship and 3 of the best sim drivers in the country here. So it's a good performance from James MacIntyre, just showing that he can hold his own with these drivers whilst they're battling it out. And I'm sort of casually waffling on about James, but we've got this super battle between Dave Marshall and Jack MacIntyre, who's got back in front in the 37 car. Super stuff from him again. It's still Ryan Elliott out front. Josh Hislop is second. Max Coates is in 3rd position now, as still side by side the top 2 in the championship. And Dave Marshall goes back in front of Jack Mack, the silent assassin. So it's the machine gunning his way back into the top of the standings in terms of the battle between the top 2 in the championship. And Tobin Lee almost keeping a watching brief at the back of that gaggle. We're not quite at the battle because we've got the number 4 car, L44 Max Bird there as we switch groups, with Matt Richards on the outside line. Alex Toth-Jones immediately ahead, coming out of Woodcote once again. The Bluebird Developments car manages to hold off just at the halfway point in this race. Ryan Elliott with a 4/10 lead. This is good, isn't it, by Ryan Anthony? 4/10 of a second lead over Josh Hislop.
Yeah, he's doing a good job keeping it together. That lead was ebbing and flowing a few laps back, but I think it's just now settled down, as you say, to that sort of 4/10 or so, and hopefully he can make it stick.
It's got to be about confidence as much as anything else. He's had 3 podia so far, And as we said, the next step is to come up and get the top step of the podium. And if he can do it, I mean, the fact that he's leading the race well, even if he doesn't take this race win, he's going to have that confidence that he got in front, banged in a fastest lap, and led for a good while in this race. It's half the race. We're over half distance. So, that's the confidence that he needs to take away, even if luck doesn't stay with him and he doesn't get the win. But Josh Hislop T2, Max Coates's third. So Coatesy, again, seems to be coming in for these reverse grid podia. As you watch Max Bird getting stuck in once again. This time we go on with last race podium finisher Isaac Smith. 12th position, as you can see from the graphic. Busy chasing James MacIntyre at the moment. A little bit too far back maybe to have a nibble, but will close up as they come down towards Cops Corner. Interesting to watch the track limits as they come on the exit of this one. I've got to say, on the whole, these drivers behaving themselves considerably better than many real world championships who hack it around there. And if you've ever been to the control centre here at Silverstone, it's on the infield over the pit garages, and a massive bank of screens, as there are, of course, in most control rooms up and down the country.
Josh has been piling on the pressure the last couple of laps, and he's actually, just as you can see in shot there, trying to make a move on Ryan Elliott just as we speak.
Yes, indeed. Thanks for pointing that one out. He has caught up, and we've got a good battle on for third place between Max Coates and Jordan Brennan, which is in the right-hand pane that we're looking at, and a little bit of contact going on there with Josh Hislop. It's all very frantic now, and Jordan Brennan involved in the mix as well. There may well be a look back at this over by the clock of the course, and now Alex Toth-Jones is coming up to join the party as well. But it got very, very physical. But out front, it's Ryan Elliott still there. Elliott out front. Alex Toth-Jones has virtually come from nowhere. Really worked hard. I think the cards have played out nicely for Alex Toth-Jones. And are we going to see another podium for him? He's side by side with Hislop at the moment. Hislop in blue, slightly ahead. Toth-Jones explores the outside line. Jordan Brennan in behind. Max Coates has dropped with that argy-bargy down to 10th place behind the Marshall, MacIntyre and Lee battle. Then it's Isaac Smith behind Coates. James MacIntyre and Luke Kidsley following them, with Rob Butler in the mix as well. But
I have a feeling that the blue touch paper has been lit and we're about to explode.
Yeah, that's a correct metaphor, isn't it? Absolutely right. As Hislop in P2 under a bit of pressure. This is not what happened to him in race number 2, the first reverse grid race. He managed to get away, but under massive pressure from Jordan Brennan, who's been, I think, really getting stuck in. Matt Richards is still there in 4th place. Do not discount Matt Richards from grabbing another podium in the number 4 car. Remember, he had a first visit to the podium in race 4 on Brands Hatch Indy last time out, so you could well grab another one here. Ryan Elliott still the leader, 1.2 seconds clear with 7 minutes on the clock. That could still disappear, to be absolutely fair. But the one thing we know about Ryan Elliott, with his nickname of the Wall, is that 1, he's difficult to catch, and 2, when you've caught him, he's extremely difficult to pass.
Nice to see Max Bird up there in 5th again. Really delivering a strong result in this race. Let's hope it continues.
Yeah, absolutely right. Let's hope he gets a decent finish here. Max Bird in the 44 car was hovering just outside the top 20. Top 15 in the points championship coming here. This will be potentially his best finish. His best result so far, I think, 8. Keep a note of all of them from today. But
talking of strong results at the moment, Will Fairclough is still in 15th place, following on from his strong qualifying, so that's good to see.
Yeah, another great spot there, Anthony. Really excellent result for Will. And, you know, when you think, say, previous best coming into the weekend was a 27th place. Oh, and Jordan Brennan gets it all crossed up. Now, how much ground has Brennan lost? He's down to 5th place. That has thrown away, I think, a potential podium. I didn't see any contact involved. We've got Elliott still in front. Josh Hislop back into P2. Matt Richards in 3rd. But look at this group. Alex Toth-Jones tracing Jordan Brennan, who is back on track and still having a good go down the inside line. That is one battle-scarred machine, isn't it, that one?
Yeah, it's been hard racing.
Jordan, but he can't be far away from his first podium. Sure, the driver of the 98 car really getting stuck in. And 5th position at the moment. So Max Bird moves up into 4th place. Now, how far away is Max Bird from a potential podium here? Is he going to be close enough to Matt Richards to challenge for that podium position. At the moment, he's got a little bit of work to do as Alex Toth-Jones tries to battle with the championship leader, Dave Marshall. Max Coates in behind them. There is Max Bird, just at the head of this group. You get the feeling that Max might well be reeled in by this group, and particularly with the likes of Jordan Brennan in the mix as well, trying to close up. Who's fastest man on track? It is still race leader Ryan Elliott, who set that one very early on. The lead coming down from 8/10 to 7/10. And Josh Hislop starting to get second wind in this race as we dip below 5 minutes remaining. He could be now starting to build the pressure up and close in as Max Coates takes a wide run.
Certainly there's enough time for Josh Hislop to pull real Ryan Elliott in. There's certainly time to do that, so it'll be interesting to see how that develops.
It's a fascinating scrap, isn't it, for second, and that big bun fight for fourth right behind, although Max Bird has got slightly the edge at the moment in fourth position. And here's the battle for the podium, so Matt Richards looking to try and get up into second place, replicate what he did at Brands Hatch Indy, and will he be able to hang on to that one? But it's Ryan Elliott, potential first-time winner out front, who will be nervously, I guess, watching the clock ticking down. Or maybe not. Maybe he's got the confidence to do it. He knows he's been bagging those podiums. And again, coming back to the format, this is exactly why you have the reverse grid races. It affords the chance of a first-time winner. You can build your podium. Sure, reverse grid race, people say, yeah, you've got a podium, it's a reverse grid race. The podium is a podium. You're still soaking up that pressure, psychological pressure of being at the front or being in the top three. You've got to deal with that. You've got to learn to cope with it. And that's why championships put that in. If you grab your first win in a reverse grid race, where does that lead to? Well, I tell you, it leads to qualifying further up the grid and winning a first-time fastest off the front race. That's all about how these drivers build their confidence in this sort of racing. As you watch Alex Toth-Jones still working hard. Toth-Jones is in 9th place at the moment, busy chasing Max Coates immediately ahead of him. And right behind Toth-Jones is Isaac Smith, podium man in race 3, coming under a bit of pressure now. Toth-Jones putting pressure on Max Coates. Looks to the outside line. He's going to go for the sweep around the outside, side by side. Coates has got the inside one, and I think Isaac Smith read that well. Saw the door open on the inside. Is he going to get a position in the dark blue 123 car? Let's have a look. I think he did, and he's following now Max Coates in the 71 car. So Alex Toth-Jones, his gallant attempt to have a look around the outside line, left the door open there for Isaac Smith. But you can see Toth-Jones is coming back into the mix as we watch Jordan Brennan side by side with Dave Marshall, the championship leader.
It's an exciting little bit of racing there, wasn't it? I think there's a bit of action going on up a little bit further up as well. Between Matt Richards and Josh Hislop, as you can see there in shot.
Yeah, very close indeed. That is for second position. Race leader is still Ryan Elliott. And super battle on for second position. Richards coming under pressure. Hislop looking on the inside line. Now, has he got the run? They're not that far away from the race leader either. They are side by side. And I think Hislop has got the run to come through now into second position. Is he going to be able to do it? It's a good run around the outside line from Matt Richards, who's holding on there, and Hislop's got the inside line again. We'll get his foot down, and I think now he's through into second position. Wonderful racing from these two. Ryan Elliott benefiting from these two working hard. So it's Richards still second. Again, having a look on the run down into Brooklands comes Josh Hislop. Side by side again. Massive pressure on Matt Richards from Josh Hislop in third position. We've got Jack MacIntyre in fourth. He's made a great race through the grid. Is he going to be the first driver to top up and double up on podia in the reverse grid part here? Running very well in fourth place, Jack Mack, the silent assassin who's been quietly going about his business as he does, moving up through the order. Got 1 minute, 6 seconds plus 1 lap, and it could be possible here for the assassin to come through and grab a podium, Anthony.
I think you're absolutely right. He has quietly been moving up, and we've hardly noticed it. It's caught us out now that he's in fourth place and fighting for that podium. He was right there behind Josh Hislop, isn't he? And of course, Josh Hislop's right behind Matt Richards, so anything could happen between those three.
His target is going to be, I guess, a second position here. He'll want to win the race, but realistically, with 35 seconds plus 1 lap, that could mean it's going to be another 2 laps here. He's going to have time to do it. Look at him working right around the back end of the 58 car, putting Hislop under pressure. This is cramping Hislop's style because he's got to go a little bit defensive now. He can't maintain the thrust of the chase into Matt Richards in second place, because he's got to defend from Jack MacIntyre right behind him. And remember, Hislop and MacIntyre separated by 1 point in the championship coming into race 3. So this is all about championship points between the 37 car and the blue car immediately ahead of him. Absolutely critical tactical racing between the two, as Ryan Elliott again continues on his way. This is a fine drive by Elliott, dealt with the pressure at the start, got into the lead, maintained, has managed to build a little bit of a gap, and he's maintained that, doing a sterling job out front.
Yeah, he's doing a solid job, certainly.
Down Wellington Straight again, the race leaders go. The clock is ticking down. We are into the closing stages of this final race of this weekend. MacIntyre looks to the outside line. Is he going to be able to do it? Can't quite nudge through on the outside line. He's going to go wide here again, try and pick up momentum through Woodcote. Once again, piling on the pressure. As you can see, the clock has run down, so they're about to enter onto the last lap. So Ryan Elliott has got 1.6 miles between himself and a maiden victory in the official Mini Challenge eSeries with Virtual Reality Racing Club here on the Silverstone National Circuit. Is he going to hold on to it? All of his race fans, his family are going to be keeping their fingers crossed. They're going to be shouting at the screens for sure, as MacIntyre has another look at the inside line of Josh Hislop. Elliott up there. Elliott, I think, is coming under a bit of pressure from Matt Richards now. It's not all necessarily finished for Elliott and Matt Richards in P2. I don't think maybe Richards quite close enough to have a go, but certainly there'll be that looming presence in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, it's just a case of not making a mistake, isn't it? He knows the pressure's coming, but he's just got to hold it together for a few more turns.
Here he comes into Brooklands for the last time. Ryan Elliott, the leader. There's a dive into Brooklands from the second place car of Matt Richards, trying to close up. Here we go. Here is the view. Look how close Richards has got to the race leader. He's piling the pressure on as they come down towards the checkered flag. Watch for the checker as they come into the final stages of this one. It's going to be Ryan Elliott who takes the win, and it's his first win. Massive congratulations to him. It was very nearly a first win for Matt Richards, who whizzes round the outside exactly as you'd see in real racing. And Jack MacIntyre stealthily came through into third place ahead of Josh Hislop. MacIntyre, podium in race 3, podium in race 4. Massive respect to MacIntyre for coming through the field. That was hard work, from 9th on the grid up into 3rd. Josh Hislop 4th. Then it was Dave Marshall in 5th from 10th on the grid. So again, kudos to the championship leader, Jordan Brennan. Physical stuff from him. Then Max Bird, Tobin Lee, Max Coates 9th, Isaac Smith 10th. Anthony, thoughts for driver of the race? So many there.
Oh, yeah, I think it's going to be really difficult to pick anybody out because there's so many great drives. Very difficult to pick anyone.
I don't want to go for the top guys all the time. I think, you know, Ryan Elliott, tough race. Didn't have to maybe work as hard as we've seen him defend, but fair play to him for holding his head through that race and that possessing the lead and taking the win. I might go for Jack MacIntyre as driver of the race there.
So the other possibility, I know I picked him out a couple of times, but just because there's such a big improvement this weekend, is Will Fairclough.
Actually,
solid result there down in 15th.
Yeah, I defer to that. Yeah, absolutely spot. Let's go with that. Will Fairclough, great performance this weekend. Great call, Anthony. Superb. So he's our driver of the race. We can go down now to Parc Fermé. Ryan, when I spoke to you in the week, I said to you, you know, the graph of the results was going upwards, and you've hit the top. P1, many congratulations. Fantastic race.
Oh, thank you very much, Richard. I mean, I really wasn't expecting that, honestly. Absolutely over the moon. I mean, from the start, I just knew I had to attack and get on with the job, and straight away managed to get rid of Max, and then got to Josh. That was a little bit tricky. The move was a bit awkward. He sort of squeezed me into a bump, and it sort of shoved him off a little bit, but I think he repaid me back a little bit later, but I'm over the moon with that result.
And you built a little bit of a gap, but it wasn't quite enough to be comfortable, was it? You had to keep your wits about you, so you're focusing on going ahead, you're focusing on racing lines and everything else, but I'm guessing a little bit of awareness on what was going on behind you as well.
I could see carnage was going on behind me. I knew straight away that I wasn't safe, because I had the initial pace, I had the fastest lap of the race for nearly all of it, but towards the end I just completely fell off a cliff. I wasn't sure if it was me mentally just seeing Matt getting closer and closer or what, but I'm just glad I managed to hold on to it. And I just quickly like to say shout out to all my family watching, Lee Davidson as well. They've been my top supporters all the way through.
That's great, mate. And a silly question perhaps, but does it give you the confidence now to go on and back some more wins?
You know what they say, the first one's always the hardest. Plenty more to come from there.
I hope so. Many congratulations. It's been a joy to watch you racing today. Well done.
Thank you very much.
On the race to win. Superb stuff. Let's have a word with Matt Richards, who came through for second position. Matt, congratulations. And deja vu, really. We did some Brands, didn't we? Second position of Brands. And a tough race again. You were involved chasing. You were having to defend. A pure race by definition.
Yeah, I mean, the pace has been on a bit of an upward scale since the first round. Now that I'm starting to get a bit more used to the car, that race was a little bit interesting. I was looking at the graph and I could tell that I had a little bit of pace over Ryan. He started to drop off about the midpoint of the race, and once I dispatched the people that were playing bumper cars, then I managed to claw down the gap a little bit.
I think you often hear in real-world racing drivers, everybody saying, if it had been another lap, it would have been a different result, but it was certainly close as you went across the line.
Oh, definitely, yeah. You always hope for that extra lap, but sometimes you just don't get it. I could tell that he was under pressure and he'd either cooked his tyres, so I knew I just had to link up every single lap, and I think it must have been a tenth or maybe a few hundredths over the line, but we'll just have to get him next time.
The one thing we've seen from yourself is some really good attacking driving, particularly in that race, and also some great defensive work in previous rounds from Ryan Elliott. He's certainly going to be no slouch to overtake had there been more laps, but great race from you. Well done. Great to see you on the podium again in second position. We look forward to catching up with the other Silverstone venue next time out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, mate. And finally, a double podium. It is Jack MacIntrye. What about that 9th position? We barely noticed you coming through, and all of a sudden we found you, Jack, in, I think, 5th position, and then it was 4th, and then you snuck through into a podium. How good is that, getting a reverse grid podium?
Yeah, that's great. It feels a lot better than the 2 second places, having to work so hard for it. Some really good racing, a bit of bumper cars up and down the pack, and I benefited from a few incidents that other people were involved in, but yeah, just pushed really hard and really happy to get there.
If you win the real world drive, that's what you're going to get, fella.
yeah, got to get used to it.
So any thoughts as we move to, have you done any practice on the Silverstone International yet?
No, not yet, just been focusing on the National, so we'll see how it goes. I do quite like Silverstone, so hopefully can carry on some of the pace.
How many hours in the car over the week do you think?
Not that many this week, actually. I focused a lot on trying to practice a bit smarter rather than just grinding out the hours, so I was quite critical of how I've been driving and looking at a lot of data, and that seems to have done the trick. I think I would maybe practicing a lot of bad habits in the past, so not too many this week, but yeah, seems to have worked.
I don't know how closely you monitor the points between races, but I've tried to keep my anorak zipped up and keep an eye on the points, certainly for second place in the championship. I think between you and Josh Hislop at 1 point, coming into race 3, there was just 1 point between you by my maths. I reckon you've got that back now to second overall. Is that something you keep an eye on, and or you just go out there and race and then worry about the points afterwards?
Yeah, I try not to think about it really. Whatever happens is going to happen, regardless of where you are in the points. So I generally just try and finish the best I can, and then see what the score is.
Was it in your head at all that Josh is your closest rival in the points, though, when you were having that battle with him in the closing stages?
No, I didn't think about it, to be honest. Yeah, just really went for it. It was really fair of him to not to let me go around the outside, but to give me the space through that last lap. I know plenty of other people probably would have binned me straight off on the grass there, so fair play to him for racing nice and respectfully there.
Nice one. That's a superb positive comment to wind up our podium interviews with. So, Jack, the silent assassin, you did that in that race, coming through, absolutely super. That's why the nickname that Anthony Williams has given you is stuck. And we look forward to seeing more of that, the international circuit at Silverstone next time. So many congratulations, super drive. Thanks for entertaining us today. And have a good week. We'll see you next week.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anthony, what a weekend we've had. Absolutely superb racing. I don't know if it's possible. I don't know whether everyone's sort of logged off or whatever now, but would we be able to get our driver of the race, Will Fairclough, online? I don't know if that's something that our producer might be able to do.
Well, that would be really silly.
He's not about. He's gone. Okay. Well, maybe we'll catch up with him with a video interview or a chat as a featured driver. We certainly will.
That'd be quite nice to do, because we can talk to him
Yeah.
maybe about how he's managed to improve so much since the first few rounds.
Yeah, absolutely standout. And thanks, Anthony, for pointing that out. It's a really, really good call. That's what the driver of the race is very much all about, possibly driver of the day overall. Here's a reminder of what's coming up over the next couple of weeks. So we can now stick a red line through Silverstone National. We say cheerio to Silverstone until maybe our winter series. But we look forward to Silverstone International, the other end of the venue, which is going to be includes items like the legendary Hangar Straight, which is an amazing circuit, great facilities in the real world. So looking forward to racing there. And then we move on to the second half of the season, which really kind of mirrors what we've been used to in the poker fixtures over the years, which generally opens up at Snetterton. It's usually a blazing hot summer's day when you go to Snetterton as well. That's round 5. Croft, Knockhill and Brands Hatch GP, the running. Closing thoughts on today, though, Anthony. Good day again.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's been the best racing that we've seen. Donington, start of the season, lots and lots of action, probably a little bit rough and tumble. Brands Hatch, a bit more of the same, but also in some ways quite cat and mouse. And then today, it's just been exciting racing, but relatively clean. Yes, there's been a little bit of bumper cars, as some of the drivers said, but nothing malicious, nothing too serious. Generally speaking, when we watch real racing, if it's side by side and both cars are still on the track and they've only lost a wing mirror or something, that's usually acceptable. What we don't like to see is people being shunted off, too aggressively. And I don't think we saw too much of that today.
No, I'd agree with that. What we might want to do at some point is see if we can grab an interview with Andy Ringland, who's the clerk of course, maybe one of the video interviews that we could do midway. We could just have a chinwag with him and find out what his involvement is and how things are going, and give people a little bit of an insight into how professionally and properly, in accordance with real world racing, that this sort of thing is done. You can see the credits coming up here with the amount of people involved. Again, a big thank you to all the tech team for their help, encouragement. A big thank you to all the drivers for the entertainment that they've given us over the course of today and indeed the preceding weeks. And a big thank you to everybody who has joined in and contributed on social media. If you're watching on the catch-up, thanks for doing that as well. From me, Richard John Neal, and my co-commentator, Anthony Williams, and all the team with the official Mini Challenge eSeries with Virtual Reality Racing Club. Hope you've enjoyed the racing today. Thanks ever so much for your company. Stay safe, be well. We look forward to your company again next week. Bye-bye for now.